Comics Cast Let It Out with Gerald. And I just want to welcome everybody here on, what is it, March 27th? It's spring, and allergies about ready to kick in. But I want to say that we're going to kick off this show with three fantastic guests. But before we do that, I want to let everybody know what Comics Cast is about and what Comics Cast Let It Out is about. So Comics Cast is a show that's all about a group that's all about the indie creator. If you're a penciler, inker, colorist, publisher, you name it, if you're in the indie community, we want to get eyes on you. We want you to be a guest, and a guest on this particular show, which is Let It Out. Let It Out is a little more intimate setting. It allows us to do a little bit of a draw and talk interview. We do some live drawing, and basically we just let you get to know the creators in a more awesome setting, because they get to draw along with us, and hopefully you'll draw along with us too. So that being said, let's kick off the show. This is Comics Cast Let It Out. Hey everybody! Okay, I was joking around with the crew right before we went live that I'm hoping this caffeine will wear off, because I'm a little excited here. But it's excited for a great reason, because I got Michelle, Vucko, Gabe Sapienza. I knew I was going to screw this. Sapienza.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nice.
And the super difficult name, Andrew Healey, right? Or did I get that right? Okay, I was gonna say, I'm like questioning myself after that great Italian last name I had to master in the last 5 seconds. But anyway, I want to welcome you all. These are our crew. This is part of a series of guests that I have been pleased to feature from the illustrious, the awesome Raid Studios. They're from our brothers and sisters up north in Canada, but they are filled with great talent, and it's a feature. It's just a pleasure to have all of you here. So I'm gonna just let you all say hello. So say hello to our guests. I mean, to our audience. These are our guests.
Hello, guests and audience.
right. And I'm going to actually go into the chat area, and I'm going to post the means by which you can follow Gabe, Andrew, and Michelle. And for some reason, I'll put it in one big, long, continuous list, even though I have it broken down with. But anyway, I want everybody to check that out. Don't go there just yet, because we want your eyes to be on this show, because it's going to be very special. We're going to talk about their individual creative journeys, as well as when they came together like Voltron under Raid Studios. It's going to be a great story, and I look forward to sharing that with you all. So let's move to the part of the show which we call the origin story. And that is basically where I hand the mic to our guests, and they basically can tell their individual creative journeys. So I think when we did the pre-show, we said we were going to have Andrew be the first person to lead it off. So Andrew, the mic is in your hands, and I'd like you to tell your creative journey. So
thank you. No, thanks for having us on, Gerald. So I joined Raid in 2018. And that kind of was my comics journey. But before that, I had a career and still have a career as a television writer. So most recently, there is a show I wrote for Adult Swim called Doomsday Brothers, Adult Swim Canada, which I'm not exactly sure if it's available in the States. But yeah, so my background is mostly children's television, but some adult animation as well. And, that kind of got started 10 years ago through just attending conferences. As a writer, I think one of the hardest things is to get people to notice your work, because it's a lot of work to read a script. And if you're blind emailing people, you're not going to get the same results as if you're actually meeting them in person.
Right.
So kind of how I broke into the industry in Canada was attending a conference in our nation's capital of Ottawa, where they kind of had speed dating, but speed pitching. So, yeah, it was odd, and I was equally unwanted. No, I'm just kidding. I ended up getting a job.
Whatever.
Yeah, so I got my first gig I want to say 2012. So yeah, when the world officially ended, and now we're all in this liminal purgatory. But yeah, too soon. But yeah, so I was working on a show called Nunchucks for YTV, which I think was then sold to Cartoon Network in the States. And yeah, there was a lot of like work in kids animation at the time because there was like government incentives for companies to make programs domestically. And then eventually one of the companies I was working for started doing some adult animation. And that's where you see, there's actually a character named Gabe in this. The guy with the green shirt is named Gabe.
I can see the likeness there.
Spitting image.
Yeah. Racing Gabe. Yeah. Yeah. So this was Doomsday Brothers. It was like a post-apocalyptic comedy, kind of like Zombieland meets Fallout. And I got to write 3 episodes, what I think are the 3 best episodes. Except,
of course.
Actually, I think the best episode was written by this woman named Ivy Johnson. But that's if we're being really objective. But in my main character world, and then actually the company that made that, the production company Portfolio, ended up hiring me as a development executive, which was fun. So I got to kind of like look for new ideas. And I guess what I really realized with TV, while a script is great, it's only a blueprint for a house. It's not the house in itself. And if you're really trying to test out new ideas, comics are interesting because you can kind of almost like produce a short film and a graphic novel, but for like, maybe a 10th of the budget. So I started kind of working on some ideas that I originally had kind of written almost as like pilots for anime. I was working with them with a local Toronto artist. This is Dr. Kukaracha.
Yeah. Just that name is really cool. But go ahead. Just keep on telling your story there.
And I guess there was a fellow I met in Ireland named Mike Hennigan who writes for games and television. He introduced me to a guy named Taryn Chada, who kind of reminded me actually about the Raid Studio because I had met Ramon years previous. I had joined a very douchey networking club thinking I could buy Darren Aronofsky a beer. But that did not work out. But I did meet Ramon, who in my opinion is much better than Darren Aronofsky.
Really?
Yeah.
I haven't met Darren, but I have to say that Ramon is a class character, classy individual. Love his stuff. But keep on going. I want to hear the story.
That needs to be on Ramon's LinkedIn. Ramon Perez better than Darren Aronofsky.
Noah was mid. Hot take. So I'd met Ramon years previous, and he, I guess, gave me a tour of the studio on college. But at the time, I think it's interesting because as a writer, and I'm sure a lot of people, when you're doing comics, you can just work out of a coffee shop. You can just work out of your house. So there's the sell of like, why am I paying money every month to hang out with other people? I don't need anyone else. I'm a strong independent woman. Kind of at the end of the day, if you're not around other people, you stop learning. And I think that was the real attraction to a co-working space with like-minded people. And I guess the community that kind of grew out of the co-working space. So this is Killer 27 for Raid Anthology for KLAATU. I guess I met Taryn. He kind of reminded me about the studio. I kind of started my real proper foray into comics.
Your proper foray. I have to say that as an indie creator, you can use the word proper rather loosely. I'm going to say it's kind of like a milestone. Like that's like a milestone because I like to think that indie creators, just like you said, you can work out of the 4 corners of your own wall. I mean, in your own home and stuff like that, the 4 walls. But hearing the story about Raid, that seems like that is something that unifies all 3 of you here. You were introduced to Raid Studios, and from there, because I want to tell that story about how you all got there. Is there anything that you want to like talk about before we get to the other origin stories for your compadres?
I guess those are the broad strokes. Yeah, kind of children's television, then adult animation, then working as a development executive briefly. And yeah, I guess kind of seeing, well, I guess as a development executive, I realized like comics are so valuable, even just as like an IP machine. I mean, I don't think you should ever do a comic just as a backdoor TV pilot, but if you're passionate about an idea, you want a proof of concept, and comics are a great way to do that. So yeah, the previous comic, Dr. Cucaracha, was actually, I got optioned by the company I was working at. We pitched to Adult Swim and Netflix and Amazon. So I mean, yeah, so that was for Raid 3. Yeah, but I mean, yeah, I guess so. Comics was always something I very much as a teenager, then kind of felt maybe some shame in the late teens, so I stopped reading them openly. And then I think in university, it was actually like on the syllabus for my buddy's course, The Dark Knight, like the Frank Miller one. I think probably that classic, Batman's a fascist, discuss.
Oh, okay. That's not the kind of that's not the kind of syllabus I was thinking, but yeah.
No. But I mean, yeah, it was cool because then my roommate in university started reading comics, and then I was like, Watchmen, what is this? What are the themes discussed? And then I got back into it heavy. But yeah, the community in Toronto is pretty strong. So I was happy to kind of plug into that and kind of. Because comics are very similar to film writing, and actually writing a comic helps you like as a writer. If you want to grow as a director, you need to storyboard, even if you're just doing shitty thumbnails. And like writing panel by panel, you're actually storyboarding in your mind. So I felt like it helped my writing filmically as well.
Yeah. It's interesting to hear even the way that you express yourself. That that's the kind of writing that you can expect from Andrew. It has that bit of humor, and I just like the way that you just express yourself. If it translates to your writing, and then I guess as an executive head executive of the executive. I'm trying to get my title straight.
Yeah, it was a development executive. Yeah,
development executive. Do you do you, when you're scouting talent based on that, do you just sort of like do you look for that story to perfectly be married with the writing, the writing and the art, so that it's all, so like here we are with Dr. Cucaracha's dilemma. Did you help like art direct that, or did you just find the artist that kind of fit that? And then...
that was birthed on the anthology. So Ramon had paired me with Danish Mujahideen, who is a fellow member of Raid. Yeah.
Yes. I know that guy. I think he was on our show last time. So
exactly. So this is Danish's artwork. So we came up with the concept together.
Yeah.
And and then I guess kind of because the show was optioned off the comic, we we're also, I guess, partners, co-creators on the show as creative producers during the option term when we were developing the materials for pitching. So this is all Danish's beautiful artwork.
I'll have to say I've thanks to Sam Noir from Raid Studios, I've become a fan of every person that he's basically thrown my way, and that includes these you three. And I think that's a great segue to our next origin story. And I believe her name is Michelle Vucko. So let's pass the mic to you, Michelle, and let's hear your origin story.
Sure. I actually made notes because you forget your own life.
That's me every morning. It's like Memento. What did I do yesterday? I need to like scribble on my arms. Like, okay, I did this yesterday. Follow up with that. But yes, Michelle, go ahead.
No, because like while I was writing, like I was like, oh, I should make notes. And while I was making the notes, I was like, oh yeah, like I had forgotten all of this stuff. But yeah, so I guess like it started like doing art probably like very young, but at when I was a kid, I thought I wanted to be like a traditional old school painter. That was kind of like what I got into. Like that's what I thought about. Like that's what like an artist is.
Fine art,
like a Renaissance period. I would actually go to. There's a artist in my neighborhood, and I would go to her house. She had like her husband built her the studio in her backyard, and I would go to her house like after school, and she would just like teach me how to paint. And she had like all these amazing like old history books, and like that was, I guess, my first entry into art. But like while I loved doing it, I didn't think that you could get a job as it. Like as a painter. I didn't think that this was like a feasible thing.
That's when the starving artist crept in, right? The the stereotype. So,
I was probably like 12, but I was still like, oh, like ennui, you know, like this can never be or whatever. And I remember telling her once, like, you know, like I really enjoy this, but like, oh, I'm probably gonna have to be like, I thought I was gonna be like a zoologist or a veterinarian or something like that. Like I have to think about like a more realistic goal. And she told me, she like very like bluntly, she's like, well, why are you doing this if you're not gonna, you know, make something of it?
Yeah.
Which was like, I think very like hard for me to hear at the time because I just loved doing it, but it was also something that like I needed to hear. Like this, if this is something that you want to do, like you should be pursuing it.
Especially when you're a 12-year-old, it's like ultimatum. It's like it's like you've got to do something with your life. You're a 12-year-old.
Exactly.
Yeah,
yeah, you have to bring yourself up. It's like you have to pay for things.
Exactly, right.
So yeah, so that was, I guess, like the first thing where I would kind of like start thinking, but I was still trying to think like practically in my mind, because again, like I didn't think like, oh, I can't just, you know, paint or whatever. But I would, at school, like I would always like volunteer for whatever art project like that had to be done. So like, you know, painting walls or like making posters for school, like things like that.
Yeah.
So I was doing a lot of that. And then in high school, I started getting into anime things.
Yeah, I can see that.
Do. And there was this manga called Death Note that was very.
I think I've heard of that too.
Yeah, when I was, I don't remember what age I was, but it was, I think it was in high school when it started coming out. And I thought it was very, there was a lot of like very funny bits. I think it's a very like serious thing, but things that I find very funny are things that are very dramatic, very serious.
Dark humor.
Yeah, right? It's like dark, but I think people that are very serious and over the top, it's very funny to me. So I started making these comics about Death Note, these like fan comics, and I would just post them online. It would just be for fun. And people started to like them. And so I just kept doing it. They were very simplistic. I don't think I've given any here because they're like, they look like little sock puppets, basically. But that was like a big thing for me at the time, like just showing that like, oh, this is something that people like. And I think something that I really enjoyed about posting them was, you know, people saying things like, oh, like this is really like cheered me up, or like this really made me laugh. And that was like a big fuel for me. So I did that for a while. I actually, you know, I would print some of the books, like I would print them out, bind them. I sold them at conventions. So I did that for a while. And then it was college and I had to be more serious again. So I still didn't think that I could get into comic books. I thought that was like a thing. It's like, oh, you have to like live in New York and like be at like Marvel or something. Like you have to be like very, like only like a tiny percentage of people can do comics is what I thought.
Yeah.
So I thought that, sorry?
Oh, I was going to say, it's like you could play for the WNBA because you could get in there real easy compared to getting into comics, right? So it's like that 0.000001%. You know, I'm going to be a comic artist. But yeah, keep on going. Yeah.
So I thought like, oh, something that's like similar to comics is animation. So I was like, oh, I'll go into animation because I'll be able to draw. Yes. I will do storyboarding. Storyboarding is kind of similar to comics. So I thought like, oh, this is like a practical way to do what I love to do. So I went to Seneca College for animation. I was also doing some, I worked at some like 3D post-production studios on the side. Just kind of like 3D generalist stuff. And then after college, I did more 3D things. I'm still kind of doing that same thing. Like this is like a more, I guess, like corporate animation, corporate, like, you know, like you're modeling like a car or like and things like that.
It's like commercial animation versus
very like commercial stuff.
Yeah.
Which was like a good experience, but it still like wasn't what I wanted to do. And then I left that place, and I actually, my stepsister, who I'm very close to, she's the same age as me, and she was going to go live in Australia for a year. So at this time that I just left my job, and I was like, I'm going to go with her to Australia for 3 months. So me and my boyfriend went. We like crashed at her place for 3 months, and I think that was a very big like turning point for me, where I decided like I thought like I'm really going to try to like give this a go of like what I want to do, because it's like I tried that. I'm going to try doing something else. I did actually go through like a lot of trial and error of different things. Like I was like, oh, maybe like I can design like t-shirts, maybe I'll be doing stickers. Like I wanted to kind of try everything. Like I still did like a little bit of animation, still did some 3D stuff. I did some painting, some canvas painting, some like wall paintings, some like tattoos, like a whole bunch of things. And then I found out about Inktober, where
by Jake Parker, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So you have to make an ink drawing every day for a month. And I was like, I'm going to commit to do this. I'm going to focus on one thing, because I was very all over the place. So I did that for all of October, and I found like this is like a really good thing for me. This like commitment and this like challenge. I found it was like so good for me. And then I was like, I'm going to do this again, but I'm going to do a comic every day for a month.
What?
So
okay, this is talking from a guy who tried to do Inktober ever since I've heard of it. I think it's been like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, and I have yet to complete a whole month. But anyway, that sounds like you went to Australia, you had your vision quest.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, you're out in the outback and said, you know what, I'm gonna find myself.
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna try to
do everything.
Yeah.
I had this vision of you like painting like murals on cave walls with Aborigines, and it looked like it was, and the Aborigines were all like going, this is the anime style. And, you know, it's one of those things. I have this vision in my head of what you're going through. But yeah, keep on telling your story. I'm on. Yeah, right, exactly. Keep on telling your story. I want to hear the rest.
So I made this challenge for myself to do a like. I was like, I'm gonna write it, and I'm gonna draw it, I'm gonna ink it. I'm gonna do this every day.
What?
They were very like you could see some of my comics are all vertical like that.
Yes, let's go here.
Yeah, so that's not one that I did then, but that's kind of the concept of what I was doing. I don't think I posted any ones that I did.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, because I don't show those to people anymore because they're not so good. But it was.
Yeah, I'm sure they're wonderful. You're just being a perfectionist there, you know.
It was a good. It was a good like challenge for myself, and it's like it really motivated me to want to do more of this. And that's actually after that, then I started doing these ones that you're seeing. They are, again, like fan comics based on different animes and things that I was into at the time.
Right.
So I would start doing, these were all digital also, but I was like, I'm going to just like keep doing this. Like, this is like something I really like doing. And I think like that was like another kind of like turning point for me of like focusing on just comics.
Right.
Because like I think part of it was like the writing of it, and like it's kind of like all encompassing. It's like I love like the writing of it, I love the drawing of it, and I love like getting like the response of like I can make people laugh maybe.
Yeah, it's the it is a visual medium, but I think that what you're describing to me is you never know what, you know, art is definitely a very personal thing. You know, you're drawing from the things that you like, but but when you can share that interpretation, you know, when you execute something, when you actually put something, you know, and create it, and then we could share it with people, and then it resonates with them. It makes them feel a certain way, and then they're so inclined to reach out to you and tell you how much they appreciate it.
Yeah,
I mean, I think that's definitely, I could see that's probably like another turning point for you. It's like, you know, I'm not just doing art for me anymore. People are appreciating it. So
yeah, I think that was like something that I've been chasing, or something that I've been wanting to get, is like this feeling of like, yeah, I'm like doing this for me, and like this is really fun for me, but it's like also like making people happy, and I really enjoy that. So that was something like I kept doing, and then I guess I was getting into this pattern of trying to stay focused.
Right.
And I was like, okay, this is good. Like doing these comics, this is good, but like I have to be like more serious about something. So there was this idea I had in high school, which I'd like kept thinking, oh, I'm going to do this, and I never did it. Was doing a comic adaptation of Hamlet. I wanted to do. So that was something that I wanted to do for a while. Again, like I guess it's very, very similar to what I was talking about with Death Note, where Death Note was very serious and I found it funny, and Hamlet's very serious and I find it funny.
It's so funny to hear you say, let's put Death Note and Shakespeare into the same category. And you know what? Being a big fan of Death Note, I'm going to go, let's go all in. That is completely true. But,
it's very telling, I guess, it's a very easy way to pinpoint my humor, maybe. People being very serious and yelling. That's what I find funny. People being very dramatic.
Oh, okay. I think people are just mad at me when they yell at me in a very loud voice. Yeah. Keep on going.
So I was like, okay, I'm going to commit to doing this Hamlet thing. It's like no more like little just fun things. I'm going to try to do this. So I like, I got a bunch of like books out. I'm like researching because I want to make sure that it's like, it's accurate enough. I wanted, like, one of my goals was that you could read it if you were very familiar with it, and you would find things in it that would resonate with you, but you could also read it if you don't know anything about Hamlet. It could be sort of like educational. So I wanted to kind of be able to hit all audiences with that. So that's what I've been working on for a couple years. And actually, when I started sketching everything out, that's when I found Raid.
Okay. So before we because like I said, we're moving towards Voltron now. We just told Andrew's story, and now we got Michelle's, and we're gonna talk about how you guys all came. You all got to Raid. Before we get to that, was the Hamlet project was it completed, or was it like you put it back on the back burner because now you're working with Raid? What was, because otherwise I'm going to be like on the edge of my seat going, what happened? Okay.
It's still in progress. What happened was I was working in it, and I was like, I want to be more part of a community, part of the Toronto comic community I don't know anything about because I've just always worked by myself. So I was like, I'm going to work on Hamlet here. And then just So it's still work in progress. It's very long right now. I need to.
Oh, it's Hamlet.
Something that's it's Hamlet. I mean, it's a 4-hour play.
But it's so neat to see. You put your head down, and what I've liked about hearing your story, it's like you put your foot down, and that's why I have this stop. I think it's very this particular image here. It's like you basically like will put your foot down and say, hey, I'm going to do this. I'm going to focus on things, and 2 years. It was interesting to hear your story. You put 2 years into Hamlet, then Raid came in here, and I'm almost going to say, I'm going to tell the future here. I'm going to say that the Hamlet project, when it actually does get completed, now that you've been working with Raid and the other creators there, that it's going to be that much, bigger and better and bright. Yeah, because now you're going to have that that community that's not only in Toronto. Is it Toronto? But you'll also have your comrades, your partners in crime that are there at Raid Studios that are going to make it that much better because you're going to have you surround yourself with talented people, and you'll become your drive to excel will be there. And I'm going to be so excited to see what you do with Hamlet. And I'm just going to talk about your humor, this particular piece. Because I got this piece, and I was like, when I was putting together these PDFs, I was just like throwing these all together, and then I just realized, wait a minute, her head is detached here. But it's not done in this like you talked about people writing to you and saying that brought a smile to their face or that made them feel it resonated, it made an impact on them, and this could easily be taken as like horror or something like grotesque, but it's cute kind of. And I think that that's the cool thing. I think when you were talking about your influences with Japanese manga and anime, is that there's a genre in anime and manga for everything. And horror, sports, you name it. There's science fiction, and here it's sort of like I look at this, and this encapsulates, I think, some of your fun style with a little bit of that dark humor. And she's smiling, so it has a nice charming quality to it, and I love it. We have your Harley Quinn here, and I just love your colors too.
Thank you.
You put in here.
Those two are actually from a sketch roulette, which I think we're going to talk about later.
Yes. I didn't know that, but yeah, that will be a good thing for our audience to know, that we're going to be talking about another thing that Michelle and Gabe are very, that's something very near and dear to them, which is that sketch roulette. But that's just going to be a little bit of just intrigue that we're going to drop right here, and then we'll talk about that a little later on. But like I said, when I look at your art, there is a lot of varied art styles in here, but when I look at it, it is all Michelle. It has your signature style to it, and even when your black and white pieces that they have a nice delicate touch to them, and then in these colored pieces, even your choice of color palettes just really, really, I think that's part of the happy factor. I look at your colors, and and the colors definitely make you make you smile. And it's, one could say that it's simple, but yes, but it's more that less is more. You don't have to go crazy with a lot of different colors. I think that's something that I've appreciated with a lot of the raid artists, is that you guys are all experts in color theory. When you use color, it really makes the piece sing. But this is Michelle's artwork, and now we've gotten the first part of Voltron Forms. Let's go to the third part, where we talk about the next entry or next guest in this episode, which is Gabe. Gabe, the mic is now in your hands. Let's hear your origin story.
I didn't take notes, so this is going to be very.
It's shoot from the hip, Gabe, right?
It's going to be very different.
Okay, all right.
So, okay, let's see. I've been drawing for as long as I can remember. I think, my dad, I think, introduced me to it. He's he's an architect, industrial designer. So I guess from a very early age, I had a pencil in hand. But eventually, let's see. I eventually I got into comics at some point. I was very fiercely into video games, and there were a lot of really, really great animated features at the time as well. And I think I was just very attracted to all these different art styles and different ways of storytelling. So I guess I got it in my head that that's just what I wanted to do.
So you had a blank canvas of the wall in your house, and I have this vision of you, young Gabe, with a crayon, inspired, and said, "Mom and Dad, this is my blank mural," and you just went to town with a crayon and painted all the walls, right?
It's I mean, gosh, I wish I could remember the catastrophe that must have been from my parents, but it was always this burning passion, I think, and there was just nothing else I wanted to do. Absolutely. I mean, except I think I went through police officer at one point, and fireman, stereotypically, I don't know. And then eventually I was like, no, it's gonna be art. So, I ended up getting into this program. I remember it was, and it's still around. I think it's called the Cyber Arts Program.
Cyber Arts Program. You're a youngin'. There was no such thing as cyber when I was up and coming.
Yeah, it was this. It was like a tech and art integrated program that they had. They introduced it in middle school, and so and it went all the way through high school. So I got into that. I cheated to get in.
What? You
Yeah.
cheat?
Oh yeah.
How do you cheat? How do you cheat? Did you like submit somebody else's artwork?
I was well, kind of. I was
Oh,
I was a terrible procrastinator. So
no.
I spent a lot of time playing video games, I think, and
Uh-huh.
it got down to the wire, and I think my mom did my self-portrait for me.
That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah. No, well,
uh-huh.
if any of the professors or teachers tune in, now they know. It'll all make sense to them too, because I didn't do too well either. So so
Oh no.
yeah, so I actually was real bad at school for a while. I wasn't even that great at art, I don't think. I thought I was pretty super though.
Uh-huh.
Um and then eventually um in high school, I was just super into music. So this weird
Mhm.
thing happened where suddenly
Mhm.
something came in
Clicked.
to nearly substitute my
Uh-huh.
interest in art, and I was like, oh man, am I gonna? And so I had these two things that are very stereotypically like
Mhm.
not very lucrative, or not perceived as lucrative, depending on where you're at.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, is it gonna be rock star? Or so
Jack the
um
King Kirby, Gabe. Yeah. So basically something
yeah.
like that, right?
So
Uh-huh.
yeah, so I was like, out of high school I kind of had to decide. I was like, am I gonna continue with this band stuff,
Mhm.
or am I gonna, go for college? So I finally applied. I think I applied to OCAD and Sheridan, and maybe I want to say Seneca as well.
Mhm.
And then I was trying. I tried for OCAD. They didn't accept me. Um, so I was like, okay, maybe I have to aim for a lower rung. Like I was aiming for like Bachelor of Illustration programs and stuff, or Bachelor of Animation programs,
Mhm.
and I just wasn't there. So um, so eventually I was like, okay, I'm gonna go for art fundamentals at Sheridan. So I did a year of art fundamentals, and then I was again very torn because they have, the very well-known animation program where a lot of fantastic and successful artists have come from,
Yeah.
and then they had the illustration program as well, which I felt spoke to me more on a philosophical level.
Mhm.
So I went for I went for illustration. I got in, but the whole time I kind of regretted it because I think I deep down I actually wanted to be in animation.
Mhm.
So I was just kind of like stealing notes from my animation friends.
Okay,
there's
I'm
there's a
gonna
lot of
say
stealing in my
yeah.
history.
I'm gonna say that you were being resourceful. You you
Yeah.
you had you had to get into the program, so you got in the program doing the static, like art fundamentals, illustration, just so that way you could work your way into the animation program. So let's
Well,
clarify. So
I
uh,
wanted that, but at the
uh,
end of the day, there was this weird thing at the time where you could transfer from animation to illustration,
uh,
but the skill set didn't
uh,
match exactly if you wanted to do it the other way around.
right.
So I remember I was doing really well in art fundamentals. Like my grades were super good. I pretty much had to get scholarships if I wanted to, be in school, because I didn't, with the amount I was working, I couldn't find time to work, and I was trying to pay my own way through school, so I had to like somehow find a way to get high grades.
Mhm.
So then I get in, and for whatever reason, it's just not what I thought it was. And so my
Uh,
grades plummet.
oh no.
And I nearly get kicked out of the illustration program. I was on academic probation. I went
Uh,
from like 100 to like
from
doing
100 to 0.
just terribly.
Oh
And so
no.
I had a talk with the program coordinator. I was like, you know what? I think I just want it to be animation. And he
Uh,
was like, well, you can't really do that now. So I was like, okay. So
uh-huh.
I continued through illustration. By the end though, the nice thing about the program was that they sort of allowed you to, in third and fourth year, to sort of cater some of the classes more to what you were hoping to do. And
Uh-huh.
I remember, like, by the time by the time I'd started illustration, I was really interested in concept art and
I can see that. Yeah.
the entertainment industry. So I think at that point I was like, it's gonna be games. Like I really want to work in games. And I actually did work for a game studio for a couple of years. It was a mobile game studio. I did my internship at a game studio. So it was all kind of going in that direction. But I also had this love for sequential art and film and all that. And somehow like Michelle, like storyboards really spoke to me in that way as well. So this is all a little out of order, I guess, but
it's okay. It's all right. This is Quentin Tarantino style origin story where we start in the middle, go back to the beginning, and then come back to the end. So yeah.
I had a one of my teachers was Kagan McLeod, which I'm sure some of you might be familiar with. He's very big in Toronto indie comics. And while I was sort of gunning for video games, he was he was contacted by an established Toronto storyboard artist who was looking for like a subcontractor slash intern. And I think Kagan had two people in mind. Another really talented artist, and then me, and then she said she wasn't interested, so he went with my name and pitched me to my friend and also mentor John Davis, who got me into storyboards. So I then went and did storyboards for 10 years after that. I think.
10 years.
Yeah. So I've been doing storyboards for commercials, film and TV for the better part of a decade. And then but my love of comics never fully faded. I remember when I was when I got out of school and I was doing all the freelance stuff and all the video game studio stuff, I was still working with a friend of mine, Kyle James Smith. I don't know if you've had him on here yet, but he's also a RAID member.
We will.
Okay. Nice. Yeah. And so then Kyle, he pretty much proposed that we start our own comic. Yes, what Sam is saying is very true.
Yeah, he was just following up on your comment about Kagan, but
Kagan's great. So Kyle James Smith, he really wanted to be this like he kept trying to rope me in on projects, and I can be very scattered as well. I love working on so many. I want to do everything like all the time. So but he had some really good ideas in mind, and one of them was Scare Tales, which was a horror anthology that we started together. And so we were doing that for a little while, and I think I used that and the covers I did for it to sort of throw my name in the hat at RAID. When I heard about RAID, or actually, should I talk about this part right now?
Oh yeah, let's. Okay, well before we do that, okay, because I think this is where I'm gonna say it's like Michelle is the head of Voltron because she's like the focus.
Sure.
And then we got Andrew, who's the body. He's like the core. And then I'm going to say that Gabe, you are the feet. You go in every direction here, and it's nice. And it's great because I think that if you guys were ever to put together a project where you all collaborated together, I could just see how it could be not only a comic, it would be an animated feature, maybe a webtoon, and throw in some toys while you're at it. I think because the three of you have so much talent that I think that could easily be that. And I just imagine this a creative session with the three of you, and Gabe would be that guy going, and then and he'd be basically saying, we should definitely do this, we should definitely do that. And then Michelle and Andrew would definitely be the ones saying, okay, Gabe, calm down a little bit. We can do it. We can definitely do it. Yeah. But I think this is a great story because before we get to you talking about, now that you're all there at RAID, I wanted to show this. you provided me, and we talked about your interest in video games and how that has actually been a core part of your, I guess, artistic development when you were younger, to the point it was almost a detriment. Sounds like you were like me. It's like playing video games like crazy, all the time. And I'm gonna have to say that, parents, if you got a kid that's obsessed about video games, learn some balance. Give them a little bit of freedom to like play the video games, because you have no idea how, I'm gonna say, affecting them in a positive way. Because there's I think it's proven now that there's, the Gen Xers like myself, we grew up with the Atari 2600s, and, going all the way up to, when I was in elementary school, which the first, was it 8-bit Nintendos and the Game & Watches and stuff like that. And, everybody's like, it's that age-old argument where they say, oh, video games is going to rot your brain. And it's like, no, I mean, you got these Gen Xers and generations after it they're creating these epic video games and these awesome animes and mangas. And when I hear stories from creators like you, their influence, they read the manga, they watched the anime, they listened to like that music that was supposedly controversial, and played the video games that were supposed to rot our brains. And no, we're creating these things. And this is why I want to talk to you before we talk about your, where you all now, you're going to come together as Voltron under the Raid banner. This was I believe you said this was a storyboard pitch for League of Legends. Is this correct?
So this was in conjunction with, so I was working with an animation studio called, I work with them quite a bit actually on like awesome work, Tendril Animation. They're Toronto based. They pulled me on a pitch for Riot Games. This was probably like end of 2018, maybe even probably early 2019, I want to say. They unfortunately went with another studio, but I had,
how dare they?
I know, but I had so much fun working on this with the director, and they were working quite closely with Riot as well, like with tossing ideas back and forth and putting stuff in front of them. But this was great because and this is going back to the topic of collaboration. It very much felt like an organic process with the director, and he was quite interested in how I wanted to tackle some of these shots as well, and we just kind of built this out together. It's easily one of my favorite projects I've ever storyboarded. Like it's so much fun.
Yeah, and I think that even though they didn't go with you, which is so disappointing to hear. I'm looking at this storyboard sequence that you put together, and it's like my mind is definitely filling in the blanks and actually seeing this move and animate. And it's one of those things. It's like you definitely got to repurpose this for something else. It's just amazing to see, like from a visual standpoint, these static images, but when you put them in a storyboard, it moves, it comes to life. And
if you go to Tendril's website, I think in their portfolio they ended up not so much repurposing the boards, but they had a bunch of 3D assets that they'd already built out for the spot. So they kind of, I think they just sort of tweaked things to live more in their aesthetic and their world, and sort of move away from Riot a little bit. Obviously, it's just so they could create their own thing with it. But they have pretty much like a short that stemmed from this pitch, which is and it looks really, really cool. So
you can say that you may have like indirectly influenced them, even though they didn't pick your thing, that they kind of saw your storyboards.
I'd be so flattered if they ran with like what we did together. I can't confirm it, but that would be amazing. I feel like it had a lot of the spirit of what we were working on together, but that's
right.
Like they're a powerhouse of a studio, so I wouldn't be surprised like if they just pulled everything together themselves. But
it's like I look at this is one of my favorite sequences here, because this reminds me of I think it was from,
was it 300?
It's 300. I don't know if that influenced you too, because it's like it's like, oh my gosh, you got It's like, no, that guy's dead now. It's like he has like arrows on his back. Then he like turns around. It's like a shield, and then he does that thing with 300 where he like takes a spear and he like knocks the arrows out. I was like, oh, that's so I got all sorts of feels looking at this. It was nice to see that, and and I think that's one of the things about artists and working with talented writers like Andrew, is that you get a chance to, if you're not actually doing the animation you're actually kind of like the directors, and I think Michelle even, or actually in the medium of comic books, you're picking the camera angles, you're picking the pacing, and whether it's going to be a wide establishing shot or a really Jason Bourne shaky cam, like right in the middle of the the fists are flying, and it's like you can feel the impact. But it's just one of those things. I just liked it because it feels cinematic, and all of you as being indie creators, you have that opportunity to be that creative. And all the glory goes to those directors and stuff like that. But little do they know the storyboarders and if Michelle is writing a comic and it gets adapted, they may lift panels verbatim from your comic, and then Andrew, it's like it all starts with a script. Getting that idea down and making sure that if the story is not written and told, that's like the first step. A pinup doesn't become the origin story for that particular character until there's words to go behind the he or she or it, where they've come from. So this is it. Voltron is now formed. The three of you have come together. And now that I've heard where you all, it sounds like you all came to Raid at different, parts in your own creative journeys. And I know we had the COVID lockdown. It's been going on for like two and a half years now. And depending on what, what your industry was in terms of when everybody started going remote, or having to deal with the challenges of dealing with remote learning and having to set up your home studios, or not remote learning, remote workspaces. So before that all happened, now that you're at Raid, let's talk about that experience. Like, was it everything? I mean, I've heard things where, like, Gabe, you're like saying, well, it wasn't what I thought it was going to be like when I entered this program, or Michelle sort of saying, I'm going on my vision quest, to Australia, and Andrew, you're just talking about like, your journey from becoming an I'm going to say business incubator or talent incubator versus executive developer. I don't know. I think there's like all sorts of really neat titles that you can put to what you do. When you all came to Raid, it sounds to me that was a great place to just foster where you guys were all at in your journey. I'm going to throw it all up to you guys to just talk about your experiences at Raid. You guys choose among yourself who wants to talk first.
We could work backwards, I suppose. Or whatever way.
Yeah, Michelle, you're the most recent member.
I am.
Yeah. Michelle, how did you first hear of Raid?
I think I was just looking at workspaces in general. And actually, I was asking a friend of mine if they knew anything. And my friend, he just knows a lot of comic people for some reason. He doesn't do comics, but he knows a lot. He just like hang out at Bug Island a lot, and he knows a lot of people. So he's like, oh, like, let me ask like my like Bug Island friends or whatever. And they recommended Raid. So I went, and Ramon gave me a tour, and I was like, wow, everyone here's so cool and so talented. And he was like, oh yeah, you can join. I was like, what? Me? So I was like, this like seems like a great place to get into like the community and just like be around like these like amazing, like creative, like talented people. And like I said before, like I had spent my whole life just like basically working like by myself, just doing comics, on my computer alone. And like, I didn't really know how anything like in like, I guess like the industry, studio industry, like anything really worked. And it was just like, such a great experience for me to like go there every day and just see what everybody's doing, and just like hear like, oh, I'm working on this, and like I'm like, I have this, and like I'm doing like this client stuff, and like I was like, wow.
Yeah, it's kind of like I think I can't speak because you guys are all doing this professionally, but it's kind of like you go to school and you kind of like you're paying somebody to teach you a medium, to be creative, to do all these things, and then you're all of a sudden, I remember for me, it wasn't quite like that because, I ended up working for a small design agency. But when you go to, I imagine walking into the halls, the hallowed halls of Raid Studios, it's sort of like now I'm getting paid to be creative. I can take these visions that are in my head, these words that are in my head, and put it down, and I get to make imaginary things a reality. Was that kind of like the experience that you had when you walk into the doors, or actually your first day? Yeah.
It was just very inspiring, and I did find that while I was there, I started there actually. I don't know if I said I started in like the beginning of 2020. So like a little bit before.
Oh, right before. It's like you started.
It was a really good time to find
I know. It's like I want to work with all these talented people. Okay, we got the coronavirus. Everybody go home.
Yeah,
and we're all gonna Zoom.
But while I was there, and like I just found like I was so much more productive when I was there, just like being around it. It's like everybody's just in the same mindset, and you feel like you're part of like a hive mind of like comic books.
Yeah,
like everyone's just doing the same thing, and like just seeing what everybody's doing is like so inspiring and just makes you want to do better.
Yeah, I think that's a great story when I hear that from our guests, is because it puts that creative, it lights that creative fire under you, and it's not. I think studios, if I was ever lucky to experience what you guys go through, it's sort of like you have that friendly competition, the competition that drives you to excel, not to like outdo, your studio mate that's like right beside you. You want to be able to like, produce something that will create that sense of wonder and inspiration that, that you get when you look at their artwork.
Yeah.
So you were the youngest out of, or the most recent addition. So Andrew, Gabe, who wants to go next in terms of telling?
I think we're going chronological. I guess Andrew's next.
Okay, there we go.
So I joined the studio, I guess, at a pretty transition phase. I think they just had leased their new spot in the west end of Toronto. So it was cool because it was very much like bare bones. Things were still coming together. Yeah, these are my pages from the most recent anthology.
Right.
I did with Shane Heron, Killer 27. Yeah. So, I think at the time, there was still like, the doors were more plastic drop sheets. There was a rough feel.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah. It was kind of just like if you're renovating your home, I guess, kind of that, like, early states. But it was cool because, everyone was very friendly and very welcoming. Yeah. And I think it was really interesting to kind of learn more about, I guess for me, my journey was like, how are comics and TV and film similar and how are they different? And, like learning things like layout is pacing.
Yes.
The layout for a comic is very much similar to how many cuts and how quick are those cuts in a motion picture. So, yeah, I think early on, Danish, who was another member who had joined, and I were paired by Ramon for the Raid anthology. And that was really cool because I had done some comic stuff before for an anthology called Strange Romance by a guy named Adam Prosser out of Toronto. And it was like, okay, but it was a very disconnected experience. Like I sent in a script, I got paired with an artist. The artist then, like, I guess, bailed, and then I was paired with another artist, and it didn't really feel
no collaboration, right?
Yeah. So it was really nice working with Danish, because it was like really nice to kind of, I think we got like Jamaican food across the street, and then we were just kind of like, what do we want to do? I don't know, maybe like a fairy tale for adults. And that's how Dr. Cucaracha got formed.
So over shawarma or some sort
I
of
think
like,
it was some jerk chicken.
Jerk chicken. Oh, you said Jamaican. I was just talking about my first falafel was in Toronto. So I think Toronto is kind of like the clean version of New York. It's much more spread out. It has the same cultural melting pot, but I have nothing but much respect for it. And I think Danish, when he was on the show, he mentioned a particular street, something market. I forgot what the name of it is. There's a
St. Lawrence, maybe.
Well, it was an area. He did a Sesame Street homage.
To that Parkdale, right?
Yeah. I can't remember the exact street.
Oh no, it's Kensington Market.
Yes, I think that's it. And I just had this vision of it's like when you guys want to recharge the creative batteries, you just go down to this district, get some great food, and see this very bohemian atmosphere. And he was like talking about how he had, I think, one of the Sesame Street characters with dreads, and you were talking about Jamaican, jerk chicken or something like that. He was just saying that it was a great area, and he actually drew all these characters to like represent some of the characters that were there. So yeah, I think that's great that you have that in your backyard. You can collab, and I think that's with Raid. Your experience now is like, hey, I can really collaborate with my fellow studio mate, and you get Dr. Cucaracha. I just think that is just a cool name. I would never have thought that would just be. I mean, it's if that doesn't get you into it. Yeah, and before we get to Gabe, like that synergy that you have with Donish. Who came up with Dr. Cucaracha? Was it like after you talked to him? Did you both like? Was it?
Yeah, I think at the time. I think I don't know. I think I was like reading fables or something, or I think I was like listening to Guillermo del Toro talk about Pan's Labyrinth, and I was like, adult fairy tales are cool. I want to do an adult fairy tale, and I think at the time I was like, there's a YouTube series called Philosophy Tube by
I'm gonna have to write that down.
A woman named Ollie Thorne. And it was talking about like I think Brits were like debating should smokers get the same access to healthcare as non-smokers. And it was
that's a heavy subject there.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So we were kind of trying to come up with like a medical parable regarding the ant and the grasshopper. But instead of storing grain, the ant is healthy, the grasshopper is unhealthy.
I see.
And if there was a pair of lungs needed to be given, is one more deserving than the other given their life choices? And that actually, and the story is about the doctor kind of, looking at his own kind of lifestyle based on this decision he has to make, the dilemma being who to give the lungs to. That was, and then Donish, I think I had come up with just the general premise, but then Donish is like, we need more. As far as
we need more. I mean,
totally more about how the character was changed by the journey Dr. Cucaracha. So then Donish kind of took more of a co-writer position at that point, and we started kind of coming up with the story we have right now, which I think is much better than what I just had originally.
I look at this and I think to myself, if more if life choices could be portrayed in this fashion, I think it'd be definitely more effective to a lot of people. They would definitely think twice. There's a little bit of humor, but it's that like, whoa, like we're familiar with like, the story about the that the worker ant or the tortoise and the hare, and I'm just looking at this stuff, and now because I looked at this from a very superficial point of view, I just looked at pretty colors, really cool illustrations. But then now you've added the words that go behind it. It makes so much more sense, and that's another example of how the whole Raid Studios connection. But great story. Let's hear Gabe now. You're gonna round it out before we get into our live drawing. So let's talk about your experience now that you've become part of Raid. What was that about?
So I guess like it started out. Well, we were in another building actually when I was there, when I started there. A friend of mine introduced me to Nimit Malavia, who was a member at the time, and Nimit and I got to talking, and I was looking for like a community, but also somewhere that I could grow artistically. And he, I think the studio was looking for new members at the time. So he sort of like threw my name in there. I had some experience. Hello. I had some experience with Scare Tales, which I was doing with Kyle. And so eventually they accepted me. Ramon showed me the space. He was very gracious, helped me measure out things and figure out where my desk was going to go. And just super, right from the get-go, I was like, there's just so like a level of accommodation and consideration that really went above and beyond. and I was just awestruck. Like I was in there with with these people that like I followed on social media for so long, and
Oh.
I was like, what the hell am I doing here?
It's like you had a serious case of like imposter syndrome. It's like,
Oh, hell
did I,
yeah.
it's like, did I steal something to get here or what? You
Yeah.
know? But
I did. I stole many things to get here.
that was a joke. That was a
No,
total
no,
joke. It's like,
no,
that
no.
was, yeah.
No, but
Uh-huh.
it was awesome. Like I was,
Uh-huh.
and there was this really cool transition too, because at the beginning, um, I, I, I just like, I was just fanboying like crazy
Oh. Mhm.
everyone who was there, and this transition happened where suddenly these people became my peers, my colleagues,
Mhm.
and friends. Like um, we've had a number of bizarre and fun experiences together, and, and it's been really it's been a really awesome journey.
Uh,
And echoing, you know, what Michelle and Andrew have already said, um, through collaboration, I found I guess like I found my artistic voice. Like I guess like I was able to
mhm.
to see it a lot more clearly.
Mhm.
And with the anthologies, like the anthologies for me anyway, were really an excuse to experiment and do things that I was maybe a little too afraid to do on my own as well.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, so it kind of gave me this because, like I was saying, I was doing a lot of work with my friend Kyle, and we actually worked on the first two anthologies as a team. So he was the writer, I was the artist on the books, and we did those more or less I guess with the same formula we approached our own books.
Mhm.
But then we had this extra layer where our scripts had all these extra pairs of eyes on them,
Mhm.
and then my layouts have improved dramatically just because usually it's like I'll show them to either Scott or Ramon, and
Mhm.
they give it like a pass where suddenly I'm seeing the page in a completely different way, and I'm
Yes.
thinking, oh,
Mhm.
this is a really good visual strategy for some of these problems,
Yeah.
and just really cool. Just so much growth, and then you know with the move, seeing the community change because we went from a more like it felt more private like initially like it felt more I don't know how else to describe it. It was a little more closed, I think, at first.
Mm.
But once it opened up, like there were these all these really cool changes happening, including the way things shifted online as well with Discord.
Yeah.
Um, and suddenly I felt like the meaning of the studio had a more broad like importance, I guess, like
Uh,
in how it served the community.
yeah.
Um, Yeah, so it's just been really cool. I've just been seeing sides of myself that I wouldn't have guessed were even there
Uh-huh.
just because of you know even the Discord. I've never
Yeah.
hosted like anything, and
Uh-huh.
so
Oh,
doing like
we're gonna
yeah
talk about that. We're gonna talk about how
so,
the success
yeah
of that and how that's kind of like evolved and stuff like that. But I'm just hearing the three of you talk about your experiences with Raid. It's just an amazing experience. One that I think our audience, if you're lucky enough to form that kind of relationship, and you know whether it's forming your own studio or maybe you'll be lucky enough to experience. Going to Canada and maybe becoming, you know, meeting Michelle and meeting Gabe and Andrew and Ramon and Donish and all you know, just meeting that crew. The important thing is being able to find that connection because I think art is it's a it can be a very personal experience, but you know, Gabe just put the nail, you know, hit the nail right on the head. Is that sometimes we operate in a vacuum or we have a tunnel vision, and um, I think that when you can get that uh, extra set of eyes, and in this case, a studio that can look at it, and you develop. I think some people think it's you have to develop this really thick skin and be able to take harsh criticism or something like that. And I think there's some truth to that. But the other part of it is constructive criticism. It's not even criticism at that point. It's more about encouragement. I often say it's like it's all in the delivery. There's 100 ways you can talk about critiquing something, and often most people pick the worst way out of the 100 ways. But if you can find that one that's in the 80s or the 70s, in terms of different ways, if you can get to encouragement number 77 and be able to say, hey, have you thought about trying it from this point of view? And that's where that piece becomes stronger, because you can look at and go, yeah, I never would have thought to approach that. And the collaboration part of it, whether it's artist to writer or writer to colorist or artist to publisher, I don't know how it could be anything. It's just being able to get different eyes on it to make it an overall stronger product. And that's what I get from hearing your stories and what Raid is all about. So that being said, we went a little bit over the first hour, but in terms of I try and get the origin stories in that first 45 minutes, but there's 3 of you, and I wanted to hear all that stuff. So audience, if you're in there, we're moving. Let's see, we got somebody here. I'm going to pop up just a quick comment. We've got a few people that have joined us. We have Mark Molino saying hi, guys. So we are moving to the part of the story that a part of this show, which is where we do the live drawings. So this is live, and we're going to be doing live drawings. So we're going to be doing 3, and the first one, I believe, is going to be based on the anthology project, which is what all 3 of these of my guests are on, which is this. Some of them have done. Actually, you guys can correct me. Have you all done stories in previous iterations of the anthology? Or I know at least Andrew and Gabe. Michelle, did you do?
This was my first one.
This is your first one. Okay.
Yeah.
So this anthology, this is volume 4. We're gonna share a link to it. Actually, I'll go ahead and put it in the comment field, but I don't want you to go there yet, because this is where we're going to see some magic happening. So if you look in the comment field, this is where you can go to help support this anthology. It is the current Kickstarter campaign is for volume 4, and each of my guests has a contribution in that, and Gabe and Andrew have in previous volumes 1 through 3. I actually just showed I teased some of the artwork that you've seen in there. So Michelle's is going to be her character. Her original character is going to be the first live drawing that we're going to do. It's going to be 15 minutes, and just like with all the live drawings that we've done in the past, we encourage audience participation. Hopefully, we'll get that. We'll get some new fans for all of your IPs and OCs. So just let me know in the comments field that you are drawing along, and then post to our sister page on Facebook called The Art Show. So make sure you let me know in the comments and post it to The Art Show. And we are going to be doing Michelle's OC, which is from Harbor, right? So,
yep.
So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna get the clock ready. Let me get the art cams up. And Andrew, I'm gonna probably lean on you a little bit. Like maybe you can help me do a little bit of. I'm gonna pull you in to help me be a Mystery Science Theater co-host with me, and just sort of like maybe add a little bit of that. Raid Studio spice to this part of the interview, because we're gonna let Michelle maybe just sort of like talk a little bit from I guess if you don't want to spoil it, of course, but just sort of like give us like maybe your general synopsis of Harbor, and without any spoilers, and then from there maybe talk about the aesthetics, because I love the color palette choices that you picked, and I want to know. The lingering question is like, what was that intentional? Like, how you chose to color this. So that being said, let me get the clock started. So it's I want to say it's 2:15. It's like 2:16. We'll do 15 minutes for that. And Gabe, Michelle, I'm going to put your art cams up. I'll share mine a little later on, but I'll just sort of float between the two of you. And Michelle, you go ahead and just talk a little bit about Harbor. And Andrew, feel free to jump in anytime. All right. Here we go. Clock is ticking.
Sure. Okay. So I have to remember how to draw her first of all. But so this is Leela. I actually got some other pictures here on my screen. So the story of Harbor is that she lives on this isolated island, just her and her little small community, and she is walking on the beach and she finds a plane crash. You can see the little plane crash up here. And she has never seen an airplane before. And she goes inside and sees what's inside. That's all I can say, really.
Okay, so that's a little bit of a cliffhanger. We can't go any further with that. So, all right. So, Andrew, I don't know if you have a question, that you can help push the narrative. I have some other ones, but if you want to drop in one, let's go ahead and pick Michelle's brain.
So, what drew you to this story, to do this, to come up with the story for the anthology? What was like kind of the initial thought process, or initial that could be something?
This was actually part of my brain's not working. It's hard to do two things at once. This was part of a broader story that I've been kind of thinking about for a while, something that I've been wanting to do. It's I've been wanting to tell the story about this little island community that's cut itself off from the rest of the world. And it's sort of about when you're young and finding out that maybe things are different than what you had been told.
Is the island a metaphor for a sheltered life? I guess.
I guess it could be. I mean, it's really just an
island. Something I've always been curious about, Michelle. Where does the handle Nickel Curry come from?
That's kind of like a weird story, but the basic idea is that it's about it's trying to conjure up the thinking of really cheap, good food.
Okay.
Interesting.
So affordable, you mean?
Yeah, it's really comfort food, makes you feel good. There was I mentioned my stepsister before. She's the same age as me, and she went to university in Montreal. And whenever I would go visit her, I would want to go to this place. It was you go there 2 a.m. It was a little window, in the side of a building, and they had noodles for a toonie. So I would just be I want the toonie noodles.
That was the peanut butter chow mein, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that was
nobody else knew.
Miguel students, yeah.
So, yes, it was so good. I was I need this every time I went there, and that's kind of the feeling that I wanted to convey, I guess.
So I guess one of my follow-up questions to your contribution to Raid 4, it's this color palette that you picked with the grays and the oranges, or shall we say it's the burnt umber and the rustic hues. I don't know. I'm trying to talking with Andrew. I'm trying to figure out how to creatively express myself with words in terms of having it. But what were your was this aesthetic? I mean, this color palette choice, was it something that you started at the very beginning, or maybe was this something that you showed this to your compadres there at Raid that said, hey, why don't you try doing some color isolation, doing things with this color palette? And was there any deep thought in terms of why this was done that way?
Yeah, so I think I wanted to show she has this nice bright colors with the color, the orange, and everything around her is very gray. And as she starts interacting with things, things become more colorful. In the first page that you see, the crab is gray until she kicks it, and then it's red. So I was trying to go for a little opening up with the color scheme.
Kind of I was having Sixth Sense vibe. It's the crab is the doorknob that's red, or a Schindler's List. When it's having that. So these were all. I guess when I saw some of these pages, I'm thinking, and of course, don't answer this because it could be a spoiler. It's just is this in her mind? Is this a reality? Is this is she in purgatory? Or is this I get it. I'm reading this and I'm it's so intriguing to me. And it's it's a short story. So it's keeping me on the edge of the seat. And I'm flipping back to the prior page to see if there are some visual hints that kind of drop things in there. So I don't know where I'm going with that, but I just wanted to say it's just one of those things that I noticed.
But that's another thing, like with doing this as a short story. Back in like when I was just doing, comics for fun on the internet, I did not have to edit my scripts at all. I would just like, I'm just gonna add another panel. They would just keep going. And when I'm writing, I could also be a little like long-winded, I guess, write too much dialogue and all that stuff. So this was like a really good exercise for me to trim things. It's like I have a page limit, I have to keep to it.
5 pages, that's it's giving you like a kind of like parameters to work within, and I guess you can kind of look at this. Oh, is that limiting me? Or is it a challenge to actually be more succinct with your visual storytelling? Andrew, I guess like when you did your your story for it, it's like do you find the storytelling anthology from an anthology standpoint, it being limited to like 5 pages, do you think that's like a crutch, or do you just look at that as like, hey, it's like a visual design challenge, this is a writing challenge?
Definitely.
How do you? Yeah,
I think it's finding like the right size of idea. Like, so I guess I consider an 8-page comic probably like similar to like a 2 to maybe 3-minute short film, where you're trying to think of almost like a stand-up joke, just something with a strong punchline, So like I think it's because I think often the mistake is trying to cram in an idea which should be like a feature length to a short film or a graphic novel to an 8-page story. But you're almost trying to think of like a parable, like The Old Man and the Sea or something, something that's kind of succinct. So it's fun to kind of try to think of smaller ideas. I think often as creatives, we're attracted to writing our epic. We all have our Lord of our Rings in the back pocket that we've been working on tirelessly, but it is to think of what's almost like a funny stand-up joke punchline in a short narrative, so I mean I think that's kind of the key to like a good short story, is thinking about like the right size idea and something with a small ironic twist. Like forget who wrote it, but there's a short story I loved growing up called The Necklace.
That sounds so familiar.
Yeah, I think it was an English lit, and it's about this woman who she was born low class, but she was very naturally beautiful, so she felt like she was born out of the class she deserved to be in. And she was cleaning someone's house, and she stole a necklace to wear to a ball she'd been invited to because she wanted to be fancy for one night. So she lost the necklace, and and what she did was she replaced it by buying it on credit, but then I guess had to like work very hard, all the time, and all her beauty was kind of robbed from her from all this hard work all the time to kind of pay off the necklace. And then years later, she spoke to the woman she stole the necklace from, and she said, I gotta tell you, I had to replace it.
Oh, I do remember this story. Keep on going. Yes.
Yeah, I had to replace it because I lost it. And then the woman says, "Oh, it was a fake."
Yes, that was the kicker. Oh,
yeah, so
I do remember this. Yeah,
that strong kind of ironic twist punchline, like like that's the right size for an 8-page comic or a short film. So I think choosing the right size of story is the most important thing. And I think Gabe, who just had to take a small bio break, I believe.
Okay.
He actually has a really strong, I think similar. I won't spoil his story, but I think he has a very similar kind of strong punchline.
So I know that we don't want to go down to spoiler territory here because it's such a short story. I didn't even want to like show like 2 pages because that's like 2 of the 5. but it's people I don't think are going to like read all the little words that go along with it, but I just really want to show the visual part of it. But I think that's just, I like what Andrew said in terms of finding the right store size. Is that right? Finding the right size, because I think we all, just like artists, we want to like do the Hamlet project, Michelle, like you were talking, right? But there's a time and a place for that. And I think the anthology is kind of like a breather. It's kind of like one of those things where you feel like you don't need to be intimidated by a 32-page comic, or maybe even a story arc that goes across 5 issues, or like a magnum opus where it's like, hundreds of volumes or something like that. But I think that the anthology is a nice way to introduce a concept, telling that right story in that short amount of time, and being able to appreciate for what it is. And it can be just as impactful. At the moment when you told me, I vaguely remembered I took one of the few AP classes I took in high school. That was one of the short stories, and that was the kicker. It's like where you could spend your whole life trying to make amends for something, when maybe if you just had been honest and sort of said, "This is what I did," maybe that would have changed the course of your life. Type.
Yeah, I think the Twilight Zone was great for that. They always were, the small segments with a great twist. Like the doctor pulls off his mask, and they're all pig people.
Yeah, Scooby-Doo was good about that too. It's like, oh no, it was Mr. Jones all along. He
it was the housing crisis all along. There's a lot of good memes like that where it's just like, why is there wage stagnation? Oh, it's really the housing crisis.
Yes, it can all be traced back to that, right? Yeah. So, Michelle, let's talk about her. I mean, so the story is Harbor. And I know it's spelled not the typical way. I mean, and of course,
that's the Canadian way.
Oh, that's the Canadian. Okay, so it's like the metric system and the American system. You know how Americans are. We're just all about changing everything else. But when I look at this, her being, having the orange reddish hair, is there like when you came up with this, like what was this based? Like you mentioned that you're very close to your stepsister. Is she based on anybody, or is it just something that is it completely random, or what exactly?
She's not, but it's funny that you say that, because my sister, she did have red hair for a long time.
Oh, so maybe subconsciously, maybe, I don't know.
Could be. But no, I'm not sure where her. I mean, I did a lot of I think like research gathering, image references. I wanted her to be from kind of like a Nordic country. So I think that's kind of where like the red hair. I was looking at like Nordic fashion with like the long coats and the scarves, stuff like things like that. And I like curly hair.
Not enough curly hair characters.
Yeah,
if you ask me. The comic world definitely needs more curly hair characters.
Yeah, curl are fun.
Yeah, I couldn't help but. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Make it go off. How far are you in your Hamlet adaptation?
Oh, that's hard to say. I mean, it's mostly sketched out. I've like Hamlet, I've cut it up into 5 acts. So I am doing like the final touches of the sketches, like redrawing some bits. I'm on almost the end of the 3rd act. So I guess
wait, Polonius has just been stabbed?
Yes.
Spoiler.
Yeah.
Oh, and just to give you guys a heads up, we have, I'm going to say 2 more minutes unless Michelle wants to add a little bit extra time to the clock. So, so what do you say, Michelle? Do you want to add a little bit more time, or do you want to say in 2 minutes we can, because we wrap it up? It's up to you.
I mean, we could do it in 2 minutes. If you leave it to me, we'll just keep going forever. So.
Okay, all right. Let's say it's 2 minutes starting now. And
while I have not drawn anything that I'd like to share, I have written a haiku.
Oh,
perfect!
Amazing.
Would you like to share your haiku? Was it a haiku you just wrote just now?
Yes, 575, based on Michelle's comic Harbor.
Okay,
I love that.
Let's hear it.
Her hair, a lighthouse, guiding strange ships to safety. What does her beach hide?
Ooh.
That's awesome.
I feel like that's my equivalent to a sketch. I'll just do small haikus.
I'm looking forward to your haikus for the next challenges as well. I think that'll be really, really good to hear. I have to say this is the first time we've had the haiku challenge on Let It Out. So first for many things, Andrew, you've just coined it. So I'm going from now on. If I have a writing guest, we're gonna have the haiku challenge for them. And
You have to.
It's awesome.
It all started here. So just it's like a future writing guest beware. Have your haiku ready. Your haikus ready.
575.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sam.
Oh yeah, I forgot to pop up there's some comments here. So yes, Sam says brilliant. I guess you guys saw it. So
Sam is so supportive.
Let's take a moment to talk about Sam.
Sam's great.
He's like if Raid had a mascot, I think, and a person that would be the cheerleader for everything that embodies Raid Studios, that is what I think of. I don't mean that mascot to be in a negative way. I think he's the I don't know, if Raid were to have, aside from your typographic logo, you could have a Sam like cartoon character that would just be going around talking about how awesome. Yeah, exactly. He is just amazing. My time that I got to know him, he tells me so much cool things that you guys are doing, and it's just been such a pleasure. And I've actually, aside from chats, we've had a couple, actually a phone conversation that was earlier this year, and it was nice just to talk to somebody, versus just chatting, on typing things out. And yeah, he's great. Just awesome to have that kind of person that's a part of your team.
And also a talented writer in his own right. With
yes.
There's a chilling story he wrote about a war veteran and like little puppets. Yeah.
I have to check all that stuff out. I know that he took a little bit of a break from his own creative exploits to help promote Raid Studios with all he's become quite a bit of a crowdfunding expert, I hear. And to the point where I think he is like, I don't know how many he's successfully managed, but he has yet to have any of his campaigns that he's worked on not get funded. So that, I don't know, maybe he needs to write a book on how to run a successful crowdfunding campaign. Okay, all right. As much as I hate to say it, we're gonna have to call pencils down. And I just wanted to, like I told our previous episodes of Let It Out, these sketches are not meant to be like super polished production quality things at the end of it. I mean, it's 15 minutes. It's just designed basically to allow people to just get a flavor, to see see the magic happen from from a blank screen, just to see something happen live. And then from there, I encourage all, my guests and even the audience, if they want to do a more polished or finished piece, to share it in the art show again and do a follow-up. And we can definitely share that with the creators that are here, as well as, just the artistic community. So that being said, I'm going to solo out your camera there, Michelle. Let's take a gander at what she did here. So
just sketching her out.
Oh yeah, I love it. Can you zoom in? Let's zoom in a little bit more so we can see her face. Yeah, and it's as the resident expert on Harbor, because this is your OC. And I guess is she kind of like, she's surprised? Is like somebody grabbing her scarf, or did she see something? It's like I like how you're able to put emotion, just like it's like I'm trying to get some. I think some artists, they get into this trend of just doing like a pinup pose, but there's no narrative behind it. I look at this and it makes me wonder: what is she shouting about? Or what is she yelling about? Or what is her gaze fixed upon? And then even like with her shoulders like bunched up and her arms close to her chest, it's like I'm like wondering, is this like I know this might just be a study, but it's like maybe this, I'm trying to glean something from it. It's like maybe this is going to be something that that Michelle is like subconsciously saying is going to be in another episode or another issue featuring Harbor. So maybe I'm reaching too far with that, but
who's to say? I can't say.
Yeah. So let's zoom back out and let's see a little bit more of this. Yeah, and I just like we were talking about your art style being just like less is more. You don't have to get into these like superfluous details. I mean, I'm a big fan of like other artists that can put every weave in her scarf if they wanted to.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But there's something that's so natural and organic with you not having to put all those details in. Your mind will fill in all the blanks for things because it breathes. Your lines have life. So very, very cool. I do appreciate it. All right, so let's share Gabe's real quick. Gabe, you ready to share? Let's get you in there. Okay. Oh, Michelle, what do you think about Gabe's interpretation of Harbor?
So cool seeing it like in Gabe style.
I wanted to. So a lot of us have obviously read the stories because we worked on it, but so I'm focusing on a somber moment that I won't spoil that I thought of like for
okay, so we don't need to go into details of what that particular thing that she's holding in her hand, right?
Yeah. Stay tuned.
Not even stay tuned. Go buy the anthology so you can find out what that object is in her hand.
Buy it so you don't have to stay tuned.
Yeah, right. But I like how you're also able to capture these introspective moments. She's in deep thought, and it's all about how you do these lines in terms of just simple lines to convey emotion or thoughts or action. It's just really neat how you can do that, and it just makes me wonder what is on that pamphlet. What exactly is there? And you've captured it beautifully. I'm going to see. Did anybody? I'm looking in the comment field. So if there's anybody in the comment field that wants to draw along with us, and even if you want to spend more time with it, you can always post it to the art shows separately after the show, because these characters are really, really neat, and I would love to you guys to become fans of this raid crew that I have here, and show your appreciation by fan arting some of their OCs. So here we go. Since no one did, I guess I'll share mine. Let me put this up real quick, and we'll move to the next one. So here's my version.
Oh, that's awesome.
I love your eyebrows.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's like when I look at it, you were talking about the Nordic feel. Like, I wanted to convey that it's windy, and yes, it is cold, but she's warm. There's something about her personality, and you mentioned something about how she kicked that crab, and I looked at it first as like, why did she kick the crab? Because the crab, that seems like that's kind of a mean thing, but then the crab became colored, so like maybe she was doing the crab a favor, type things. But I was like, I'm looking forward to it. I need to acquire Raid Anthology 4 to read the rest of the story. But I wanted to say, like, she's kind of like her arms are crossed, but it's more of like she's embracing herself, too. She's showing that warm emotion, inwardly, but, as a viewer, you get to appreciate that too. And I can't wait to hear more about Harbor. So that's my version. Let's me get this off the screen, and I just want to do one final take here of Michelle's illustration. It's so lovely. I totally adore your art style, and can't wait to read the rest of the story. And of course, Gabe gave us a little bit of a spoiler in terms of like, not spoiler, I'm going to say a little bit of
a hint.
It's like that pamphlet and what is its significance. All right. Okay. All right. So we're going to go to our second drawing challenge, and normally I have a co-host. Don't have a co-host today, but I have the awesome Andrew here, who I basically have co-opted him in terms of like trying to like play both sides. He's my guest as well as co-host here. So when we have a writer part of the guest list, obviously they're not going to be part of the live drawing, but I always encourage my co-host to talk to the writer or the non-drawing part of the guest team to like help come up with what we're going to be drawing. Andrew, you've established the haiku requirement for writers now, and now you have the opportunity now to dictate what we are going to be doing for our live drawing. So if you've watched our past episodes of Let It Out. I won't go into all the really things that we've done, but you know, there've been dexterity challenges. There have been things that we draw things from pop culture references, you know, things like that. Andrew, I hope you're gonna just totally throw out the window and just sort of like come up with your own unique challenge. So Andrew, what are we gonna be drawing?
So I uploaded to the Facebook chat.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Of the dearly departed Taylor Hawkins of the Foo Fighter.
Okay.
I posted a reference photo of his likeness.
Okay, let me download it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Go ahead and keep on talking while I get that ready to share.
And I mean, forgive my ignorance because I don't know if this is a hard or an easy thing to do as far as a drawing challenge. But I've always loved continuous line drawings, like the unbroken line. A friend of mine has a couple in his bathroom. And I've always, I mean, but yeah, I don't know with digital, if that's like, you know, forgive my ignorance if it's something that's unfeasible, but perhaps in a perfect world, a continuous line drawing of Taylor Hawkins, R.I.P.
Whoa. Yeah. That's something I don't think I've done a continuous line drawing since college. That was many moons ago, in life drawing class. And sometimes the continuous line drawing would be like, you can't stop, like you can, you know, like you can do a continuous line, but you can stop in your line, look up at the reference, and then keep on going.
I think that would probably be the more civilized human thing to do.
Oh, well, because there's that would be, I'd be definitely racking my brain trying to do it. The other one is where you are looking at your subject and you are just letting your pencil go, and that is super tough.
Blind contour drawing.
Yes, exactly. And
continuous line.
Yeah,
I haven't done that in a long time.
And you know, you guys are digital, so you know, I guess I can't really cheat my stay. I don't know how we're gonna do it, but we've heard from Andrew on high. We do have a chance to look at the reference and then, you know, stop our drawing, you know, our movement of our pencil, and then or our digital pen, and then continue our drawing. So yeah, let's do this. Okay, the clock is now, it's like 2:44 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will start at 2:45. Actually, let's go ahead and start right now, but I'm going to do the marker at 2:45, so that way at 3 o'clock we will stop. So here we go. Andrew, you want to talk about, were you a big Foo Fighters fan?
I was, yeah. I mean, I also saw their new movie, Studio 666, which was pretty hilarious.
Oh, I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, it was very campy. And I guess, you know, I'm happy I saw it, you know, given the passing. I think it must have been very intimidating for a drummer to join a band with the drummer of Nirvana, you know? But whenever I saw Taylor in interviews, I think his quote, The Beaches, a band that's out of Toronto, they had posted a quote from him. I play rock and roll for a living. I should never complain about anything. You know? And I feel there's a real smell the roses kind of attitude there, which, you know, you feel sad when you hear about people who've achieved their dreams, be upset about, you know, things that we all kind of wish we would have the chance to be upset at. So, I mean, yeah, I'm always a big fan of the Foo Fighters. And, you know, it was always kind of cool to see like how they evolved. I remember Skin and Bones was a big track when I was in university. Yeah, I mean, well, it always felt like Dave's band, you know. I mean, I always had a soft spot for Taylor just because of his congeniality in interviews. And, you know, it's weird, the idea of celebrities and how we miss them, because, you know, it's like knowing someone intimately in a way, but you know, missing perhaps the little dent in the universe they made. And I think definitely that's how I felt about hearing this guy's passing.
Yeah, and it's a surprise. I think obviously we want to respect his family, but it was just a shock. Young guy, only 50. And I remember reading an article about him, and not the original drummer for the Foo Fighters. And,
oh, really?
Yeah, they had a few.
Yeah, they had a few. And when the other drummer left, I'm going to have to say it's kind of like maybe hearing some of your Raid stories in terms of how you came to Raid. And I'm going to equate Foo Fighters as being Raid Studios. So it's sort of like he basically just called them up. I think he maybe knew somebody that knew David Grohl and sort of said, hey, you know, I'd like to audition for the drummer position. And,
nice.
You know, and he just sort of, and I think that's all she wrote. I mean, he came there, hit it off with them, and I'm a fan of the Foo Fighters, but it's like you always gravitate to like the lead singer or maybe the guitarist, unless I do remember famous drummers from like Phil Collins or maybe think of that or I forgot which one of the Van Halen brothers there was a Van Halen guy that was a part of it was a drummer, but it was sort of like that's what you don't really know about it. I knew that he was a great drummer, and I knew that but I just didn't remember his name. And all of a sudden, you hear about him and you hear the story about how he walked on, family man, extremely. I think his demeanor was very infectious. People just gravitated to him, and he had a great stage presence. And I've never been to a Foo Fighter concert, but I heard all the band members and him in particular were very charismatic, and he would get up there. And the eerie thing is, I just watched it actually this morning, which I guess was fate. This is me. I didn't know if that was gonna be part of the challenge, but he did a performance of I think "Somebody to Love" by Queen. Yeah, and you don't think of, and Dave Grohl switched. David Grohl became the drummer, and he became the singer, and he was doing all the Freddie Mercury like instead of like going Deo, he was going David Grohl. He was just doing. It was like playing it up. He was working that crowd, and it was sad. And I'm gonna have to steal something from Michelle again. It was sad, but it made me smile at the same time. I'm gonna put that kind of experience that I got by watching this video, knowing that in a couple days he would be departing this earth. But he did this video, and it's gotten millions of views. And now I want to learn more about him. I want to hear more about his story. So,
Gabe's actually a pretty talented drummer as well.
Thanks.
We play music together. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been nice to kind of sit back on the throne again. But yeah, no, it's been we sort of where did that project even stem from? I think Kyle just started a group chat and was like, "Hey, we're in a band now."
Is it the Raid Studios band? It's like you guys are
you have no choice.
Yeah, well, Kyle and I used to play I think we played in a couple of projects. By a couple, I mean like he and I stayed in the band, and then like a few other members switched out, and we changed the name. But yeah, no, that's music, man. I feel like I can't not do something musical. It's part of why I think like my Raid 3 story actually had a lot of I guess like some musical references in it as well. And yeah, instruments, music, it's all so much fun.
It's art. It's art, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's music or visual, avenues to express yourself, But yeah, it's always just weird when you hear about somebody that's so young passing away, and with such creativity. But now I want to learn more about him. I want to learn more about what his contributions were beyond what we hear on the surface.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember because there is a pretty good Foo Fighters documentary, I think, on Netflix. That's I think is definitely worth watching. And there's a bit of like you don't get like the whole Taylor Hawkins history, but you definitely find out about the point that he joined the band and like everything that came before that. I think one of the most amazing things too is was it the first, like I think the first Foo Fighters album, like Dave Grohl recorded, like he did all the instruments, he tracked all of them.
He did?
Yeah.
Wow.
So he had, I think the drummers that auditioned later like had to learn the tracks that he like that he laid down when he was playing drums.
like a Trent Reznor or like I hear Tame Impala's one guy too, isn't it?
I don't know, honestly.
I've heard that like Tame Impala, it's one guy, and then they like hire session musicians to tour.
It just makes me feel like woefully inadequate because I can't play an instrument to save my life. I love music. I love listening to it, but yeah, instruments and me never got along. I tried to play piano, tried to play trombone, which is just a totally off the wall instrument. It's like, why would you pick trombone? Exactly.
Middle school, we did a lot of Louie Louie.
Exactly.
Michelle, do you do any of the music?
No, I was also very. I'm not coordinated enough to do anything. Like I tried a whole bunch of different, like in school, they make you try to pick an instrument, and I went through, I think, 5 different instruments, and I don't do any of them well.
It's like your instrument is the digital pen, right?
Sure.
The digital pen. So I guess while we're talking about music, let's and Andrew, this goes for you too. Do you all listen to music do you find it conducive to your craft, or do you find that it maybe it adds too much to it and distracts you? What are your thoughts on like music and either helping or hindering your creativity? And I think that's kind of like that's like kind of a dumb question, knowing that Gabe and Andrew, you already told us that you cross over that musical,
Yeah. Well, I find for writing, I can't listen to anything with lyrics. I find that distracting.
Yes.
I agree.
Film scores, and then like lo-fi beats, like that little girl studying, like that's pretty good.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's more about having something that is not that you're singing along, because that can be distracting, but it's something that it gets your brain in a certain vibe, right?
I think there's I guess sometimes it's fun if you're writing an action scene to put on some Hans Zimmer. But I find it's just taking out the way. It's almost like, especially the lo-fi study beats, it's like it's work mode because this music is playing. It's almost Pavlovian,
Yeah. No, I find I totally like stuff with, if I'm writing stuff with lyrics doesn't jive with me. Trying to think if one thing I've been doing for a long time actually is I create playlists based on the project I'm working on.
That's a good idea.
That is I don't know why I wouldn't have thought about that. That makes complete sense.
It really does help, like especially if it's a long-term project, because I find that because my work ethic, if I don't get into like a pretty rhythmic, like almost ritual with my work ethic, I very quickly devolve into procrastination and just looking for tracks and music like forever. So having playlists already set up that I can just quickly add songs to, that's been super helpful and gets me in the headspace for what I'm trying to make.
That makes complete sense. And I totally agree with Andrew in terms of because I'm a big fan of motion picture score. And it used to be back in when I was in college, it's like it used to be very hard to find like score. And for a lot of movies that I liked, I remember going to watch The Rock. I think that was a Hans Zimmer did The Rock, and couldn't find it. And John Williams, even finding Star Wars on back when people still bought CDs and cassette tapes, it's it was very hard. And when you did find them, it would be real expensive to get. And now it's it's changed a lot. You can definitely find, in fact, that you can get stock music that is based on themes, and that I listen to some of that stuff too, because that kind of gets you into that mood, especially if you're drawing and you want to draw a epic sci-fi battle scene. Not you don't necessarily listen to Star Wars, but I'm just saying that there's thematic stock music that you could even listen to get you in that mood. But I'm also this is another really weird geek thing. It's do you guys find that when if you didn't have a playlist and you were just had like some station, like maybe you have some Spotify station on, and you were drawing, and you created something or you wrote something, and then you're like struggling. It's like, what was I listening to when I came up with this thing? And you're scouring, trying to figure out. It's like, what was that thing? And then do you find yourself like trying to like replicate that? And does that happen to any of you? Like, do you do that?
It touches, I guess, upon a similar thought where, when I think often creative projects are timestamps for identity, and like come up with something in your early 20s. If you're revisiting it in your 30s, you have to kind of remember, what was my emotional state, what was important, what got me jazzed about the idea as a 20-year-old, and almost kind of time travel psychologically to that point.
That feels almost therapeutic, because I don't know if I have so many cringe moments in my past that sometimes going back, I'm like, man, okay, all right, that's what I wanted to do then. Having I really like that, because that's almost like honoring that person. You're like,
Yes.
that person was where they were at for a reason, and you're like, those decisions came from a very real place. So that's really cool. I don't know if that's where you go with it at all, but my mind definitely went there.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna say, like, I don't know, Michelle, you seem to be the resident Eastern art, manga and anime thing.
Nerd.
I'm gonna say that I appreciate that too. I find myself, Andrew made that statement, nothing with lyrics, like, because sometimes you might want to sing along or whatever because it has lyrics. I sometimes will listen to like J-pop or K-pop, because I can't sing along, so I don't know that language. Yeah. But it's the beat, and I had to say that with like, this is me being just total nerding out about like something that is like, it's happy music, it's like, I don't understand anything they're saying, but majority of that kind of genre of music is just, it's something about the beat that just is energetic. And not that who wants, sometimes you just want to listen to like somber music or sad love songs. I have no, like, country music, for example. Totally didn't listen to country music, and I grew up in the country, and I didn't listen to country until I left there and went to college somewhere else. So I have an appreciation for it, but it's one of those things is that I sometimes find myself looking back and going, what was I listening when I created this? And I have to say, there have been a couple happy, I don't know if it was my mind telling myself that if you listen to this music, you will create something that's in the same thing. If that was the case, then I would just have that on constant loop. And I'd be creating my own Iliad and the Odyssey and Walt Disney movies and League of Legends games. I'd be doing all that stuff because I would just have that same track like playing like all the time. All right, so it is 3:00. I got kind of like caught up in that conversation. Let's is it okay? We'll do one more minute to like wrap up our lines, and then I haven't been looking. I've been like looking at our little pictures at the bottom. I haven't looked at the artwork, so I'm kind of really excited to see what happens. With this continuous line drawing thing that we've been given.
I'm curious what's going on with Gabe's. I can only see like a tiny version of it.
Yes, exactly.
It looks like there's a lot going on.
It's madness. I tried not lifting my stylus, and I'm.
It is hard.
I had to at some point. So I cheated.
Okay. Yeah. It's all right. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and put my pencil down, but you guys feel free to do it. We have about 30 more seconds. I'm just gonna go ahead and check the comment field and see if anybody drew along with us. Let's see. All right. Okay. So somebody, Sarah Samba, who is a regular. She's one of our. I wouldn't say our Comics Cast groupies, but she's definitely one of our big. One of our big fans in the audience. She likes to draw along. She said to check the our Facebook page. So let me see if I can find out if she drew along. And you guys just let me know when you put your pencils down, and we will solo out your cameras. Great. So
let's see.
I can only imagine what it is. So like when you guys draw on your tablets, I mean, I got a. It's a Huion, but I started experimenting with Procreate on the iPad, and I've seen other people how they draw. Do you guys put your tablets like so that it's almost like parallel with the table, or do you draw more like a painting canvas where it's a little bit upright? What is your?
I got this. I have the Wacom Cintiq, and I have the arm attached to it, so it's very bendable.
So you can move
and
it.
It's kind of I don't think you can see it, but
Nice.
it's kind of angled up, I guess, like a like an easel.
Yeah, those Wacoms are serious. I wish I hope one day to get one of them. Does yours allow it to rotate as well, or is it just?
Yeah. Although I find I more rotate, like press the rotate button and do that, or that way.
Right.
But I do kind of naturally just draw on an angle. I write on an angle, so it's nice to be able to kind of like angle my thing that way.
Yeah, so you were able to adapt really easily with that. That's great. Okay, all right. So I just downloaded the picture, and let's see. Andrew, you drew along with us. Awesome. I just saw it. I heard the beep from my Facebook Messenger. So let me
awesome.
Let me download that too real quick. Oh, I didn't realize I was building the preview, and I didn't know I was still sharing my screen. So you guys already got to see what I was doing. So
yes.
I guess we'll do this a little reverse. Usually we show our guest first, but let's just show our audience. So this is from Sarah, Sarah Samba.
Cool.
And let me maximize the screen.
I love that.
One moment. All right. So here she did Harbor. Look at that.
Oh, great.
She did Harbor too. And Sarah's a big fan of the Disney style, and she's a big fan of anime and manga. In fact, she's learning Japanese. She is she's so
cool.
Dedicated. She's learning Japanese. But I think I was looking in the comments. I think she didn't hear that we were doing a continuous line. But I think she got the likeness down. I think
yeah.
So very cool. And I'm just going to show this one more time. This is the drawing subject. This is Taylor. And let me unshare this or minimize it. And let's get Michelle's up real quick. So Michelle.
Oh, nice.
Oh, wow. That's one line? Oh, my gosh. That's crazy good.
Yeah.
Can we zoom in?
It became very abstract, I think.
That's awesome.
It's hard not to be abstract, I think, when we do
a single line. No, that's amazing.
Yeah.
It was fun, though.
I love
I haven't done this in so long.
One line on the shading of like the.
And
really cool.
I don't know if you guys got this, but I got this childhood memory of Etch-a-Sketch vibe. I don't know if you guys that's what it was for me. I was like, I found myself, it's like, how do I get back up there? And I had to like go back on, if I didn't want to create a new line, I had to retrace another line to get back up there. And that was kind of like a little fun challenge. So very, very cool. I almost see this could be like an Andy Warhol thing. You know, like you could, you could do like a screen print this and maybe do selective coloring like in parts of his face. Very nice.
Very
cool.
Super cool.
All right, so Gabe, you're next. Let's see what we got here.
Whoa.
What?
That's one line?
Oh, one line?
This it is. It gets very, very fine.
Yeah, I see it. Wow. Cool.
But then oh wait, no, hold on. So this part is, but then I started drawing another pose. I wanted to kind of, because he's such an energetic drummer. Sorry, he was such an energetic drummer, and I really wanted to kind of start superimposing another reference photo that I started drawing, but didn't get there. But
you can get there after the show, and maybe I'd love to see where you go with it, because then it almost has like that double negative, you know, when you kind of overlap images on top of each other and take it to another. And I, you know, we showed some of your art earlier, and using some of those lighter tones, and then like doing a double exposure, kind of like double exposure, and but you're doing it digitally. So I think that would be really, really neat to see. All right, so and I want to share. Let's see what Andrew did. Hold on one second. Let me stop sharing and add one more. So here we go. Check that out.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. I love that.
It is. I can't put my finger on the artist that this reminds me of.
I know what you mean.
know what I'm
It
talking
reminds me of
about,
someone too. I'm
Gabe?
trying to remember who it is. Yeah.
But it has such life to it that I can, because we saw the picture that you gave us for our reference, and I think Gabe gets it. I'm gonna have to. It's gonna eat at me. I'm gonna probably spend all night after the show trying to find the artist.
Yeah, it does remind me of a very specific artist that I'm trying to remember.
Yeah. Okay, that'll be a game. So in the art show or in the comments field for this particular show, who find the pop artist that has a visually similar style to this. And I don't think Andrew, I don't think you saw that and we're trying to emulate it, but
I mean, probably like subconsciously, like it kind of reminds me of the figure drawing like I saw at my friend's washroom, though I forgot the actual artist, but just like the way the nose is done and stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Man, you talk about this friend. I'm gonna have to like visit his house and go straight to the washroom. it's like, hey, would you like to see the rest of? No, I want to see
Jeff
the washroom.
Risley has the best washroom.
it's like if he ever were to sell his house, he would like to say, you don't need to know how many bedrooms, bathrooms, if there's like a patio or a swimming pool. You just need to see the bathroom. That's all you need to know.
Do you guys like the shadow of my phone taking the picture?
that was added effect. That was added effect.
Natural light, yeah.
All right, so as we move to our last one, let me just show mine real quick. Here we go. All right.
Oh,
awesome.
So it was tough. It's like his jaw is one of his characteristics, because he's always smiling, but he has just a tad has a little bit of an underbite type thing. At least that's what I kind of noticed, but it's his smile. I really wanted to focus on that part of it. And I think I kind of captured a little bit of it, but it was definitely emotionally, when you're trying to draw this, it's like knowing what kind of impact he made on the creative community. And it was fun. I'm gonna have to say, Andrew, you came through in spades, coming up with a really neat challenge and to do the continuous line.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm ever gonna do this again for another 20 years, but but it's unless I get Etch a Sketch. If I get an Etch a Sketch, then maybe that will happen. All right. Okay, so let me share. It's like we're gonna move to the last live drawing. So let me stop this and share one more thing. Now, this third live drawing is going to be based on a character that Gabe came up with. But we're throwing a little bit of, not necessarily a curveball, but it's more, we're adapting it. It's not going to be something from the current anthology. Is that correct, Gabe?
That's right. It's going to be from the last one.
Right.
Only because I found it's very hard for me to talk about the current one. I'm happy to say a little bit about it while we're drawing. But
okay. Yes.
I thought we could do Death from Death and Julie, or we could do both Death and Julie. We do have very limited time, so
right. Well, we can. How about this? We'll leave it open where you can do Death or Julie, or do Death and Julie. We're gonna do this in we'll do this in 15 minutes. And I just want to put this up here for people to do a screen capture of. So obviously Death is on the left and Julie is on the right.
not to be confused.
To be confused. There's it's a very stylized look. I love the angular lines. We'll talk more about that during the live drawing.
Sure.
And I wanted to show this particular panel too because he has this kind of skiff or like some kind of weapon. And we're going to learn a little bit more about that and be able to talk about that. But he has a unique look. Totally digging it. I love the style. Even like the exaggerated, foreshortening and like because who has a foot that's that big? But it's pretty amazing. Just great digital brushes and artwork here. All right, again, here we have people who are going to draw along with us. Do a screen capture. Here's a portrait. If you wanted to do a headshot, here's for a body shot, and that really cool weapon. And this is Julie, along with that. All right, so let me put this in the background. Let's start the art challenge right now. Let me minimize this. And I'm going to leave this up here just for everybody to see. But you can see that their art cams here are at the bottom, so you'll see it in like little micro detail. But we'll show their finished pieces at the end of this. So the 15 minutes starting right now. All right, so go ahead, Gabe. Give us the lowdown without spoiling anything, so people can get volume 3.
It's been a while since I've drawn these two. I love them very much. But this was so this story is about death and the harbinger of death. They are dating, and it sort of revolves around one particular mission that goes completely wrong. Death is very career obsessed.
He should have job security.
Yeah.
He is death, right?
Yeah, he's so in their world there are multiple deaths, multiple harbingers, because it works in a very practical way. Like, he can't get everywhere at once to do his job. So there are a lot of
He's not Santa Claus or the Tooth
he's
Fairy.
not Santa Claus.
Andrew and I are thinking the same way.
Exactly. So he's got, there's competition in the field. And so and then he works closely with Julie, his harbinger. And I can give a bit of a background to kind of like where they're at. They've been dating for about as long as they've been working in their fields, which is a long time. And they're at a point where maybe some of you have experienced, where they're becoming very different people, and they're kind of in a process of discovering who these people are. And for example, so Death being very career obsessed, that's strongly juxtaposed with Julie's blossoming curiosity with humanity. So it's almost like everything about the job is kind of going against what Julie's really wanting to discover about humanity and the world, or we'll say the plane of existence where they function. So all sorts of madness happens as a result. And I guess I can't spoil a whole lot more in this particular one. In this particular story, which is kind of like a one-off, there's going to be I am continuing this story, by the way. It's just this was kind of an opportunity for me to start exploring these characters and kind of get a sense of who they are and what they want. And hopefully that answers the question.
I popped up a comment here. Sarah was like saying, let me pop it up again here. She goes, he reminds me a lot of Elvis Presley.
Oh, absolutely.
So that was 100% intentional then?
100%.
Okay. So
yeah, he's definitely got this like rockabilly kind of vibe. And it's I mean there's in my mind a lot of reasons behind it, but I like to think of it like these beings like Death and Death's harbinger, like they could pretty much pick what they want to look like. So I just find it in my mind, and this might change, but in my mind, Death is one of the few people in his field who's actually chosen to look like he has a skull face.
Why would you choose it?
Because I think he just wants to be the best at what he does, so he wants to embody it.
Pride in it.
Yeah. So
because Wolverine was already the best at what he does, so he had to take Elvis Presley, right?
I know like how big of a Spawn fan you are, Gabe, and it's like, what is Spawn, but also Elvis?
Yeah, you actually, that's so funny. You can kind of see that Spawn influence a bit in these in this comic for sure.
It's the cape, but but no, I mean, I love it, man. Like I've always been in love with this story and this character design.
Thanks. Yeah, you helped me a bunch with that when we were at the retreat. Kind of well, that was a couple years ago now. But yeah.
I have written another haiku.
Oh, here we go. You are definitely setting the bar for any writer that comes on the show. So you want to share it now? Let's go for it.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Rockabilly Reaps. While Julie sheds tears tomorrow for all those who can't.
Ooh.
You know what you need when you do when you do your next volume, you need to have like the section where it's like those fairy tale books where they just have like a singular illustration on one side and then they have like a poem or a passage that's on the opposite side. And Andrew, that's where you come in there. And then I could see all sorts of like typographic design to go along with your words. And then, Michelle, it's, you know what I'm talking about. Remember in Death Note in the comics, in the manga, yes. There would be like those little pages to explain, because, when I was reading it, the Death Note concept, it seems like it's very obvious, like what, here's that you write your name in the book and they die. But there's like all these rules. Yeah. There's all
and they had the whole
yes.
book. Yeah.
And you basically, well, they have a separate standalone book, but there are rules too that you have to abide by, and things about if you want to relinquish it, who will pick it up, and when they pick it up, it's like you have to do this, and you'll lose your memory if you do that. Yeah, and it was just, I have to say, it's like Japanese come up with some of the craziest storylines. I was reading it, I was like, how did he come up with this idea? And that's what I see with this, Andrew. You have to do these little haikus, put them in there. And Michelle, he did one for Harbor, and it can be totally different art styles, but it could be like those fairy tale books where there's a standalone illustration, and then there's a Andrew haiku. That's like an Andrew haiku. There you go. So it rhymes. Yeah. So I will gladly give that to you guys. You don't have to pay me any royalties for it. That's something that I think you should definitely do. Kind. Yeah.
If you guys were in a Death Note situation, would you go for the Shimigami eyes or no?
Oh,
I don't think so.
Yeah,
you find somebody that likes you enough to do it for you. That's how you do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and read that again. I'm just because it's awakening all the wonder, and just like when I was reading it, aside from the really great illustrations, the concept just blew my mind. Just what the author came up with, and it's funny the way that I came to liking Death Note. I actually read Bakuman first. Did you guys? Are you guys familiar with Bakuman?
No, it's Bakuman.
Okay, Bakuman is, Michelle, you're gonna have to help me out. What is the name of the author and illustrator? What's his name? Do you
there's Oba and
yes. He
wrote
Oba
and Obata?
Yes. I'm just gonna say yes because I can't think. I'm gonna say Michelle, what you said is correct.
It's been a bit.
Yeah, so basically Bakuman is a manga about creating manga. It's like, on the surface it sounds like absurd. It's like you're gonna write a comic about making comics, but the way they set it up, the storytelling, it's like the protagonist, they're a team, they're high school students, and he has like a girl that he's trying to vie for her affection, but he feels like he needs to prove something. So he says, until my manga is the #1 manga in all of Japan, that's when I will be worthy enough to ask for your hand. And it sounds like it's completely like, it sounds preposterous, but they set it up where he's coming up with a manga, and it talks about just the culture of creating manga and how demanding it is on writers and illustrators. But they set it up, what's clever about it is it's just like a video game. Gabe, he basically has to rise to the occasion to fight other manga artists and their creations. So it's like, think of it as Scott Pilgrim, where he's fighting other illustrators, and some of the illustrators become his friends, and it's like a really fun story. And it's just totally opposite of Death Note. It's like, it's like, I can't believe this came from the same guy. But yeah, it's such an intriguing premise, and I totally enjoy it. Hearing that. So anyway, I don't know, Michelle, did you want to add anything to that about Bakuman or Death Note for that matter?
I mean, Bakuman is just very, I think, fun to read if you, I mean, for everybody, I think it also, like, it adds something if you're kind of like, I mean, like, the manga industry is, like, different than, you know, the comic industry here, but I think it's just, like, you really can, like, identify with them, and, like, they're very, like, driven, and they, like, want to be, like, the best. It's like most shonen anime. It's like, oh, I want to be the best. I want to, like, you know, be the chief of the village or whatever. But instead of just with, like, I want to make really good manga.
Like, yeah, that's my goal.
Yeah, that's my big goal.
Which is, like, kind of true of what you guys, the philosophy at Raid, right? You want to create that the best stories. I mean, they don't have to be like the best in the world, but they have to be the best that you're capable of. And you know, so I guess that's a kind of a cool parallel here.
Yeah, no, there's a motto at Raid, which is "I will become God of this new world."
and if that world has a different god, then I'm going to create another world. I can be the best there.
It's so funny because like when I started working there, the motto was actually kind of the opposite, where like a lot of people there suffer from perfectionism, and that's like the biggest obstacle is like getting anything done, because it's like, oh, but it's not this perfect amazing thing that I want it to be. And one of the first like mottos I heard there was actually "done is better than perfect."
Which, you know, I like that saying, because we were talking about Inktober earlier, and I think Jake Parker, he coined, I don't know if he coined it, but I associate it with him. It's the finished, not perfect. It's it's kind of a variation of that, but I like the humor in Gabe's in that one a little bit different. You know, it has it's the same premise, but it's just presented, you know, differently. So. Yeah.
For clarification, that actually isn't a model at Raid. I was just quoting.
no, it is. That's what.
Or I am justice. That's another big one we have at Raid. I just want to see a manga just about L. To be honest, I wanted to see Sherlock Holmes, but just L.
There is one that I started reading that's kind of like a Sherlock Holmes thing, where like the guy's like a descendant of Sherlock Holmes, and he's got like his little Watson friend, and there's like this guy that's like the descendant of like Moriarty, and their fight, like it's very, you can do any, if you can think about it, there's probably like an anime about it.
There was a children's television series when I was a wee lad called Shirley Holmes, about like a girl descendant of Sherlock Holmes, and she had a dog named Watson, and it was no Wishbone, but you know, it was good.
Wishbone.
Man, Wishbone.
I'm gonna have to look that up. You know, and in this day and age, it's like, that sounds to me very I like that. It doesn't feel contrived. It doesn't feel like, oh, we're just doing it for gender swap reasons. It's like, hey, no, it's kind of like Dora the Explorer kind of thing. It's like, you know, I think was there a Netflix series that had the girl from Stranger Things, I think? Where she was a descendant of Sherlock Holmes as well.
Yeah.
Did they totally rip that idea off?
Holmes or something. Yeah, it was very similar to this. Yeah.
Did they rip that off from that series that you just talked about?
I mean, maybe surely Chorus Entertainment has a lawsuit they need to file.
Yeah, that's because now that I've heard it, I was like, man, that sounds very familiar.
Sherlock Holmes was modern day, though. I guess Enola Holmes is contemporary to Sherlock Holmes in like Victorian or Edwardian.
Yeah, right. So I guess that's they're out. They can say it's a period piece. You know, we're not doing it in modern times type stuff. So, just to give you guys a heads up, because you know Andrew may want to do haiku part 2. We have 4 minutes to go, so no pressure, Andrew. If you want to come up with yet another haiku in that 4 minutes.
I guess this next haiku will be about the podcast itself.
Yes. Nice. Yeah. Oh, okay. So yeah, maybe you can save it when we talk about the podcast. You can read the haiku for that. Does that sound good? All right.
That sounds good.
All right. So, curious question to you, Gabe, about death. So, he wants to be the best, but his name is Death. So, are other people his competition, are they named Death too, or did he just like coin the phrase "I'm Death"? I coined it first, so therefore I am Death.
So I mean, that's a great question. I have been kind of turning that over in my mind quite a bit, because I kind of like the idea that he reminds me of myself in a lot of ways. Both Death and Julie are kind of like have all these elements of me over the course of different like chapters I've lived in my life. So I think if I think of myself in college, like I see a lot of Death there, and that guy would have named himself after what he was trying to do, because he was. And so I think there are very casual Deaths as well who are named like, I don't know, like Laura or something. But they're also, it's like the common denominator is they're all Reapers. But he's very specifically deciding to name himself Death, and that was just kind of a funny idea. That like it was one that made me laugh to myself. So I was like, I think maybe that's how it should be. But yeah. So in my mind, he's just so intense and so fiercely competitive about it that he's like, no, I'm Death. And there can be another Death named Jimmy or whatever.
I kind of like that idea. It's like, although, if Laura came to me in my dreams and it's like, I am, she looks like the Grim Reaper. She goes, and I am Laura. It's like, I don't know if that would have the same ring to it. I guess I can kind of see, it's like, you know what? If I'm going to be the best, I'm going to go all in. It's kind of like, it's like The Rock. It's like, he's not known by, Dwayne. Well, now he is now, but it's like, he's just The Rock, So I am Death, it's like, that's the way that he plays that up.
We'll see. It's still very like, I'm actually writing, like I said, I'm writing, I have plans to flesh this story out into a few books. So I've been working with Rob Kugler at the studio to kind of help me. He's head of operations, but also does a lot of editing stuff for our anthologies. So I've been kind of just workshopping it, like talking to friends about it. So yeah, the idea is that it's definitely going to evolve quite a bit from what you'll read in Raid 3, but it'll definitely give you an understanding for who the characters are. So there may be some pretty distinct changes in the later on, but at least you get a taste.
Yeah, that means you got to buy the book, so that way you can find out what these changes are. All right, so I'm going to say, let's just do one more minute to wrap things up, and that way we can darken up those lines, get everything ready to show, so we can wrap up this part of the live drawing challenge. But I have to tell you, Rockabilly Death, totally digging it. It's if that's the description, how it is, or we're going to have the haiku. That's definitely going to be able to describe it. I think that's, we got to hear that first from Andrew here on the show. So make sure that you note that.
Yeah, that actually was so like it perfectly described who Julie is as well. It was really, really well done.
All right. I was going to follow up. We only have less than a minute, so I was going to ask actually a follow-up question about Julie, but we're just going to say, hey, get the anthology, and actually, when we get to this part of the show, we'll also talk about an opportunity that that our audience can participate to actually win the previous versions of the anthology, and we'll talk about that contest as well. So
that's right.
Lots of nice little details that we're going to share. All right, so I'm putting my pencils down. For me, you guys just let me know when you're ready, and we will share that as well. So. Oh, and Andrew just sent me an illustration too. All right, Andrew, you're showing up everybody. You write, you do haikus on the spot, and now he's getting into your world, Michelle and Gabe. I don't know if you're gonna take that.
We might fight.
He's quick. He's
Yeah,
sharp.
he's very
He's
sharp. All right, so let me you actually, so we're gonna show his first. So I'll let you guys do your finishing touches. Let me add it to that preview file that I have built already, and add this fantastic illustration that we have here. And let me share. So share screen. It's like I feel like I'm what was that anime where I think it was like Transor Z, or I don't know, where it's like every time the hero robot does something, he has to announce it's like Skull Crusher Punch, and it's like, and me, it's like click button, it's like share screen. It's like, all right, here we go. So I'm sharing this right now, and prepare to be odd here. This is the rockabilly to an extreme here. What do you guys think? This is from courtesy of Andrew. And I'm going to tell you, Andrew, when I looked at this and we were talking about rockabilly, I like how it almost reminds me of a boot. Like it's like you've weaved dual meaning into this. It's like, was that intentional? Did you make him did you give him that profile of a boot as well? Was that?
I think like because the top of the hair kind of reminds me of the top of a boot.
Well, it could also be flipped around, like his chin.
Yeah.
That could be a boot too.
I guess I was going more stiletto, but yeah, no, I mean,
whatever. It's fantastic. That's all I gotta say.
Thank you very much. I'm still trying to find my aesthetic.
You'll get it.
There's something there for sure.
Definitely. All right, so I'm going to share. Michelle, are you ready? Here we go. So
sure.
Here we go.
Oh wow!
Whoa, that's awesome.
I thought he needed more of a pompadour.
Yeah.
That is, you know what?
That's great.
It reminds me of who is that character from The Fifth Element? The black entertainer who was Chris Tucker, yes. And he would always speak in that high pitched voice. It's like, and,
yep.
So like if Chris Tucker were, I don't know, Gabe, do you see Chris Tucker? Maybe he could play. Well, Chris Tucker's got a little bit rounder since The Fifth Element. He's filled out a little bit, but I could see him being Death. I don't know who. If you were to fan cast, who would you like to be? To be Death.
The Death I have in mind. Oh, that's tough.
That's tough. Okay, think about it. You can think on it. Let's go ahead. Michelle, you nailed it. Totally love it. And
awesome.
It's the pompadour sells. It's just like that's like the icing on top that adds to it. All right, so let me get Gabe's up here. Gabe, you can think about fan casting, but let's go ahead.
Yeah, I got to think about that.
Oh, and the master decides to do Julie as well.
I had to. She's there is no Death without Julie.
Oh, that's so sweet. Yeah. Very, very cool. So I want to ask more questions about Julie, but I'm just we'll just save that for
people
for they can ask it on the chat, or I mean in the comment field a little later on. But I don't want to spoil it because I know that there's probably a bigger narrative that has to go there. And I like how you framed it. It's like with any relationship, if you had a relationship with Death and the Harbinger, it's like it's totally common. But I just like how you kind of framed it. It's like, we all go through relationship issues, like how do we keep it lively? How do we keep it, not boring? But when your boyfriend is Death, it's like, how can it not be boring? I have no idea. So very cool. So you want to talk about like a little bit about this illustration, like what's going on here?
Oh, well, I kind of decided to draw Julie halfway through, but but I thought I absolutely had to. For me, it's kind of a moment where, because if I think about Death, he's very stubborn. So like, I think he tries to do things, the right way, and he'll totally hide the fact that he completely messed things up. So in my mind, this is a moment where he's kind of like,
I can see that.
This is how it's supposed to go. And she's like, yeah, sure, bud.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
I was actually I'm going to go a step further with this because when I do these shows, I want to circle back and tie things that back together earlier things that we talked about. I'm going to say this is a Andrew and Dawnish moment when they were talking about the perils of smoking and stuff like that. And so Julie is like going to death. It's like, can you put that out? Didn't we have a discussion about this? It's like you're sleeping outside tonight because we talked about the smoking. And he's like, I said my last cigarette was going to be tomorrow, not today. But I totally, again, it's like I can look at your illustrations and just be able to like come up with my own narratives because there's so much room for it. I mean, nothing static about it. They tell their own stories, and I can fill in the blanks. So brilliant illustration.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm looking in the chat area, and I don't think anybody was able to draw along with us. So let me share one more screen, which is my feeble attempt at interpreting death. So here we go. Add that to the screen.
Whoa.
All right. And
that's awesome.
I'm going to tell you, it was influenced, this style that I've been kind of like just having fun with is heavily influenced by your resident cat herder, Ramon Perez. I've just become such a big fan of his work and, all of you guys at Raid. But not that I can do what Ramon does, but I kind of just threw this together and I wanted to make it look like I want to focus on just, mannerism or just body language. And
great.
There's no narrative per se. I mean, aside from him lighting his cigarette there and being propped up against his weapon there. But it's just putting some sort of life into a drawing. And that's not a static pinup, type thing. But it was fun. And I don't know, I couldn't tell if he had like these flared bootleg bell-bottom style pants. Does he? I kind of, is that something that he has? I felt like he should.
I think like I pictured him more with like really skinny jeans.
But I guess.
But he does. Oh yeah, he's got like really big cuffs that he did on his jeans. Subject to change.
Okay,
perhaps. We'll see.
Yeah, he's he not only is he the best, he wants to be the best at fashion. So maybe he mixes it up a little bit and does things here and there. So anyway, that concludes our live drawing segment here. And let me go ahead and clear these out. So I just want to share these one more time. And yeah, so now we're all on screen here. So let's move the show right along. We've been on here for a good bit now, but I just want to plug what you guys are doing as a unit, and that is working on Raid Anthology. So let me pull that up real quick, and then we're going to go into that really fun thing that you're doing with your Discord. So let me share this screen, and let's get this out there for people to see. And again, I'm doing my Skull Crusher Punch. I had to narrate everything that I'm doing. Here we go. All right. So you can see here this. I'm going to post it at the end. But if you do a search for KLAATU Comic Creators Unleashed Raid Anthology Volume 1 through 4, it's very wordy. But I think if you put KLAATU and Raid, you should be able to find it really easily. But I will put the short link in the comment field a little later on. But I want to congratulate all of you already. You're funded. And the bigger number, aside from being funded, that just totally gets me, that just puts me in awe, is the 479 backers.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that amazing?
That's incredible.
It's very crazy.
It's like, I know I have 3 of you guys on here now, but it's like, I joked with Ramon. I said, unless, and I do this with all our guests who have successful campaigns, it's like, unless you have 479 family members or friends that you can call on to like support you, and maybe you do. But
I backed it 400 times. I don't know who the 79 people were.
That's what happened.
Is that what it is? Okay. So really, Gabe has a slush fund that he doesn't tell people about, where he's able to secretly fund himself. He's like Batman. He can fund his his art war anthology, the war on terror. He can I can fund this. But yeah, it's so amazing. We got 4 days left. 479 backers. That is so awesome because I've seen some campaigns, they're funded, but they have low backer numbers, and that to me is maybe a little bit of a telltale sign that maybe they have that many family members that are backing them, and it's a low number, or maybe they have high tiers. Maybe there's a tier that's if it's a $35,000 goal, there's a 30,000 goal that somebody bought, and that's already over halfway to being funded with one person that buys that backer. I mean, backs at that level. No, so this is what you guys have is something special. It's an anthology. It's a culmination of several talented people. They're not just from Raid. They are friends of Raid, collaborators with Raid. I think it's grown from that. I think Gabe and Andrew, you can kind of talk to me a little bit about that. It's not, I think earlier anthologies were just Raid, in-house Raid products, but now, or talent, but now it's grown from that. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's kind of this, Raid adjacent, friends who've been invited to work on the book as well. Very talented people that, the Raid has met throughout the years. And this Kickstarter actually is not just for the 4th volume, but actually all 3 and 4th. So you get a chance to kind of see a variety of stories from a bunch of different Raid members and Raid alumni and Raid affiliate friends.
Yeah, keep on going. I just wanted to get to that section where it previews. Incredible. It's just look at this the variety. I mean, that's one of the, I'm a big fan of anthologies, or because I think Andrew mentioned something about finding the right size for a story, and the anthology is that perfect digestible format where you can have lots of different size stories, these 5-page stories. And it gives you, it's the I use the Quaker Oats variety oatmeal pack thing. You can get your cinnamon and brown sugar. You can get your apples and cinnamon. It's maple brown sugar, and there's also the cinnamon and apples and cinnamon. And if you want plain, well, actually, I don't think anything in here is plain, so maybe that's a bad comparison. But I'm just saying that there's a flavor for everybody. That
definitely.
This way. Yeah. And this was a previous volume. So let's go to the slideshow. I think it's near the bottom here. Yeah, where it shows these are from the current. Yeah, there's the Andrew contribution there. Hey, and there's Michelle's. And there was Derek's. It's I feel like I know you guys because I've had you here on the show. So there's Donish. So yeah, Ramon, and so much good stuff here. If you haven't experienced a Raid IP, anything that's published under them, this is your gateway drug so that you will be hooked on everything that is Raid. You're going to get to see super talented writers, creators, inkers, pencilers, etc. And you're just going to see some phenomenal storytelling, artwork, sequentials, and you're just going to want more. I strongly encourage you to get all 4 volumes, but if you can't, just get volume 4. And this will be a nice lead-in to what we're going to talk about next. So let me stop sharing this. And I'm going to put this in the chat area. So if you aren't able to put KLAATU and Raid into the search engine to find this, I'll save you the trouble and send you the link in the chat area. So let me stop sharing this real quick and get us all on here. Volume 4 is what you can buy. You can definitely buy the other versions, but there's a way that you can get volumes 1 through 3 through a very special opportunity that Gabe and Michelle have put together on their Discord. And maybe Andrew, I don't know, are you involved with the Discord too in terms of helping them?
No, just sit back in amazement and awe.
Okay. It is an amazing thing. It's a community. It's like an extended community. It's like if you can't be a part of Raid, in their studio, you can be a part of the Discord, and it's the next best thing. I had the pleasure of sitting in on, they do this thing on Thursdays where it's a noon Eastern Standard Time, where just for 1 hour they do little sketch jams, and it's a very self-contained thing, kind of like what we do here. And but it was neat to listen to all of you interact with each other, and the artwork was phenomenal. I was listening because I was on my day job, and I didn't want to if I got a client call or my creative director was sending me a Zoom link, I didn't want to interrupt that if I was like participating, but it was great to see the creative energy there. So Gabe, Michelle, if you want to talk about it, I'm going to pull up the requirements for the contest, and how it's in conjunction with this Kickstarter. So I'll hand it the two of you. Whoever wants to talk about it while I pull out that PDF. Go ahead and talk about Discord, talk about the contest, and how it's tying together with the anthology. So Mike is over to you guys.
Okay. Well, so starting with the contest, it actually did start on the 24th, but people have until the 30th to submit. It's the 30th at noon Eastern Standard Time, and you submit your piece. Pretty much what you're doing is you're going to select from these 6 characters that are available here. You can draw one or several, and these are characters that appear in the 4th anthology. So you have Ramon's cosmonaut design. You have Moflee's that Danish design. I don't know if Dax was on here as well.
He is. He's Dax was on last year, but he's going to be on our show again at, I think, in the first week of May, which is the last week of his campaign. So
awesome.
Anyway, Dax is in the upper right. Keep on going.
So Dax has his story Widaw that appears in the last anthology and this one. It's a continuation in this one. And then we have Michelle's character from Harbor, who we all got to draw together. Yes. Then there's this robot called Forza from the story Goal. By Jack Berlioz and Alessandro Micheli.
I like how you said that.
And then we have the KLAATU monster, which was originally designed by Scott, unless I'm mistaken. But I put Scott's name here. Yeah, and then so pretty much you can draw one or as many as you want. And then I'll
try to get to the rules here. Like once you draw them, because there are some stipulations.
It's full color, and I put like a minimum pixel size as well, just for the posts.
Right.
And then people need to hashtag the unique hashtag that we created for this, which is KLAATU DTIYS. And make sure to tag the studio. And the studio tag, I think, across the main platforms is the same, unless I'm mistaken, Michelle. And please fill in any gaps I may have left here.
You're doing good.
But I guess the big thing is the prize itself. It's the box set, which includes the first 3 books, and it has this unique slipcase that Marcus will have drawn. That's Marcus Toe. Of Marvel and DC fame, it'll be signed by him as well.
And if you correct me if I'm wrong, this is going now. It started on this Thursday, and it will conclude on the 30th, which happens to coincide with the conclusion of the KLAATU Anthology 4 Kickstarter campaign. So it's your opportunity. You can get participate in the contest, get all 3 past volumes of the anthology, and then support. Help get them to 40,000. Who knows? Or actually, let's not even say 40,000. Let's say we're gonna get to 50. Let's get to 50 in 4 days. I think it's a great opportunity. We're gonna, I got to see a lot of talented people on the Discord. So, Michelle, maybe you can answer this too. Can anybody join the Discord, or do they have to be invited, or what are the requirements to help? To participate in your Thursday lunch drawing challenge contest?
No, there's no requirements. You just join. There is a link to the Discord on Raid. What's the Raid.world?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. You just come, and it's every Thursday at noon, or sometimes it's at 9 p.m. We switch.
For time zones?
For different time zones, so people can join us. You get 1 hour. We all draw the same character. So the week before, everybody submits what character they want to draw. And then Wednesday night, Gabe puts them all into a roulette wheel, all the choices. That's why it's sketch roulette. And then the one that is chosen, we all draw for that 1 hour.
I see. Okay. And color me stupid. I was like, what is DTIYS? I was like, I had to like, oh, do it in your own style. I
draw it in your style.
Draw that in your own style. See, I screwed that up too. But to me, it's like I really, this is the next best thing to being a part of the Raid family and joining their studio, is actually participating in this. And the contest, or the draw along this Thursday, which was the kickoff for this particular contest, it was so fun. It was very warm. Everybody was just talking like we were all together, together in the same room, although it was virtual. Donish was there, Dax was there, Gabe, of course, and Michelle. And that's that. Your handle, was it Silver Curry? Is Curry Silver?
Oh, Curry Cake.
Curry Cake. Yes, right. And so I actually haven't had you on the show yet, so I didn't have a face to go with names, but I heard the voices and I saw the artwork, and that was a pleasure. It was nice to see that kind of energy and that camaraderie and that friendship that was there, and just wonderful art. So join the Discord if you can, but you don't have to necessarily. But I can't see why you wouldn't want to join this great art community. That's a arm of Raid Studios, but participate in this contest, because you could win this Raid Anthologies Volume 1 through 3, and also go send your support and buy number 4, buy the 4th one. All right, so that concludes everything. We had 3 super talented guests here, and it's just so hard to tell everybody's story in a very finite amount of time, because I could spend a couple hours just talking to you guys more. But so we're going to move to this part of the show, which is called the Oscar speech. And it's where I get all weepy, because that means it's getting close to the end. So here we go with the Oscar speech. And it's just your final thoughts. It's getting to your thank yous, or you want to thank your first grade teacher for letting you draw on the walls, and that led to your success and being found out by Raid Studios. You can definitely do that. Gabe, I don't know if you want to let your former teachers know what you did to get to where you're at today, but you know what? It was all roads lead to success. No matter how you got there, you're a successful talent. So I'm going to do a little bit of roulette here. I'm just going to randomly pick somebody to start off this Oscar speech part of it. So let's go with Gabe. Gabe, let's go with your Oscar speech first. So I'm going to solo you out, and you can be as wordy or one word as you want to be. So here you go, Gabe. Okay. Give us your Oscar speech.
Okay. Well, Gerald, first of all, thank you for having us all here. I guess none of this would be possible with all of the collaborators. So I'd like to honestly thank everyone at Raid. It's pretty bananas that the project went where it did so far. Thanks to Ramon, thanks to Rob, thanks to Sam. They've done a lot of organizing. Michelle is a huge help on Sketch Roulette as well. She's definitely helped it become what it is. I definitely want to shout out to everyone on Sketch Roulette with us, because you add a lot of warmth to the week, and it's just so fun to just chat and draw together. So thank you to you as well. Yeah, I think that's it.
That's great. I didn't mean to put you on the spot there.
No, I guess as a last thank you, thank you to everyone who just follows us, follows my art, and I really do appreciate all the love and support that comes from the community. So yeah, I'm very grateful. Thank you.
Awesome. Love it. All right. So Michelle, you get to give your Oscar speech. So let's hear it.
Okay. I feel like Gabe already said everybody, so I'm just gonna be repeating him. Yeah, thank you for having us. Thank you, Sam, for organizing everything. He organizes a lot of things like this. Thank you everybody at Raid, because I wouldn't have any of this platform. I wouldn't be able to reach as many people. I wouldn't be able to like be where I am. I feel like without them and their support and their advice. And thank you, Ramon, who is like the head of everything. He's like the herder. He gets everything together, and I don't know how, because there's a lot to do, and he somehow, I feel like he doesn't have enough time in the day, and yet he still does everything somehow. So that's amazing. He always has amazing advice. So yeah, thank you also, like everybody, all the regulars at Sketch Roulette that come out, and all the people that come out randomly. Just, it's so much fun, and it's such a great community to be a part of. Just to see everybody every Thursday and just like see what everybody's doing and to draw together is amazing. And, you know, thank you, Gabe, for like, he started it. So it's been so much fun. So yeah, so thank you, everybody. Everyone's great.
Hey, well, Michelle, you bring a smile to me, and I'm sure all of our guests. I love your artwork, and same with you, Gabe. Just love it. And we're saving, last but not least, Andrew. And, you know, Andrew, this is your, not only are you going to give your Oscar speech, I think we need to hear that haiku that has to go with the Discord. So before you get into your Oscar speech, I'd like to, for you, if you want, could you share the Discord? I'm gonna solo you out. Discord haiku from Andrew. Here we go.
Okay, well, this is actually about the Let It Out podcast.
Oh, it is? Okay.
This is about your podcast, my friend.
Thank you. All right, here we go.
Let it out loudly. Cast your mind into the sea.
Ooh.
Who knows what you'll catch?
Yeah.
Oh,
so good.
Okay, I need you to put that in our group chat, because I'm gonna make a banner graphic out of that, and then I'm gonna proudly give you credit for that. But I think that's gonna be our an addition to our mission statement. And I'm gonna say thank you, Andrew, for those words of wisdom and just praise that makes me feel so good. I mean, I got the visual stimuli from Gabe and Michelle, and now the words on my brain, they've been seared in there, Andrew. So thank you so much. I love that haiku. But let's let you do your Oscar speech. So you have the mic. Yep.
Thank you for having us, man. It's been a lot of fun. And yeah, thank you, Sam, for organizing. And yeah, everyone at Raid, everyone's so welcoming there. You know, from the old guard, Marcus, Scott, Kalman, Ramon. You know, all the alumni members who I've met along the way. And then also there's a teacher named Ty Templeton in Toronto who was very influential to me. So yeah, I know he's had some health problems recently, so I wanted to thank him as well.
Great shout out, man. Bringing tears to my eye my eyes here, because you guys are gonna be leaving soon. But before we do that, I want to do one more plug to a charity group that we love to bring to attention, that we're not financially tied at all, but we just want to bring awareness to them, and that is a group called Golden Fight. You can find them at goldenfight.org. They are an organization that I like to call big enough and small enough at the same time. Small enough in the sense that they are not like this super big corporate charity where they have, you know, like they're on every continent and things like that, which essentially isn't necessarily a bad thing. You know, we got the Red Cross for that. But Golden Fight is big in this regard. They have a very focused geographic area, which is my neck of the woods, which is the mid-Atlantic region of the United States. And this is where they're huge. They raise money for families who have children that are dealing with very difficult diseases like cancer. And this is where they're super huge. The money they raise, I used to think it was like 98 or 97% of it would go to the families, and you know that 1 or 2 or 3% would have to do with like nominal administrative costs. I was wrong. 100% of the money they raise goes to the families, because they know that when a family is dealing with a sick child, they're inevitably going to have financial difficulties. And Golden Fight comes in there to raise money so that parents can focus on getting their child to being 100% better. And until we can find the cure for cancer, Golden Fight is that great substitution in terms of helping ends meet for families that are dealing with this trauma, through this affliction. I want to say that hopefully in my lifetime it'll be removed from this cancerous horrible thing. And I could break my mantra of not cursing on cam, but there's the F cancer. I would love to say that, because I think as I've gotten older, we all have family members or friends that have been touched by that horrible disease, and frankly, it's like I would just love for there to be a cure for cancer, and it just not be a part of our vocabulary anymore. So let me stop sharing this screen, and I want to have you guys all here together on one big screen. So thanks for sticking it out for me with us. We're approaching just under 3 hours. So there's my little, and by the time I finish this little wordy thing, we'll get over 3 hours. But I needed to have the 3 hours because I have three of you, and you have great stories to tell. And everything has just been a true pleasure to feature artists, creators, storytellers from Raid. You guys don't disappoint. You've definitely made an impact on me, and your artwork speaks volumes. And I can't wait to contribute to the cause by the volume 4. I am going to contribute to the draw this in your style thing. I don't know how it's going to turn out, but I'm so inspired by seeing all your work that I just feel like I had to do that. So look for my entry. Just like Gabe, I'm a procrastinator, so you probably won't see that until like down to the wire on the last day of the last minute. But I will put that on social media. I'll tag all of you. I like to think that we are all friends here, and just big fans. Fanboying, total fanboy of you, Michelle, Gabe, and Andrew. Just really good feeling, good vibes all around. So that being said, look for another edition of Comics Cast coming at you next week. I was going to say same that place, but apparently that's copyright. So I'm going to say I'm going to have to work Andrew's haiku into my outro. Maybe I'll work with him a little bit offline about that. But yeah, check out another edition of Let It Out next week. We will feature yet another set of creators from Raid Studios. It's going to be fun. So support indie creators, support KLAATU anthology volumes 1 through 4. I'm totally screwing that up. I'm going to put in the link how you can find them, but follow, like, and subscribe the 3 of these talented people, and buy the volume, participate in the contest, join the Discord, you name it, just be a part of it. It's going to be awesome. So I love you guys. I love our audience, and this is Gerald signing out. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye. Thank you.